Here we go. All right, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast 378. That time, Trigger made anti-Israel propaganda for Netflix. And if you don't know what Trigger is, that's Studio Trigger, I believe. And they made an anime, and I'm trying to remember the name of that anime. I have it at the tip of my tongue. Brand New Animal. I think that's what it was called. Came out last year, 2 years ago, somewhere around that time. And apparently, it's got some anti-Semitic or anti-Israel propaganda there, which I find hilarious because why not? I mean, it's anime. You can do whatever you like. Have fun. But, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. And this is a video by Weeb Revolution. Awesome name. Like that one. He's got about 5K subs. This came out in October of last year. It's got about 4,000 views. So I don't know if this guy's any good. I only watched a few minutes. I didn't see anything wrong yet. It's a big yet on this video. It is a 13-minute video, so I could be horribly wrong later. I don't know. But we're going to find out. Anyway, since we have some anti-Israel propaganda or anti-Semitic stuff, I thought we'd bring in Wisp. And Wisp is always there to remind us of how that works in case we don't know. But he or she could be a bit angry because there's a lack of coffee in their lives. So you never know. Does coffee get them going or slow them down? I don't know. It's one or the other. I think we've only encountered caffeine-flavored Wisp. It's always always with the caffeine. So I could be wrong.
There are many flavors to the Wisp.
The many sides and flavors of Wisp. It's either whiskey or caffeine, which is an okay combination for me. So
I'm still in the process of making.
You
keep forgetting Smudcast starts for me at 11 p.m.
Same for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I just need some to go. And there's only one thing I would ask of you. I don't care what you call me, but please leave that neutral pronoun bullshit out. That's
neutral
just
pronoun.
crap.
Okay.
Decide for one. I understand my voice is shit. That's why I take it. I can't complain because most of you only know my voice.
Well, I use third person when I'm ever confused because I get confused often, not because of who I'm talking to, but because I actually forget the person.
That's all right.
My brain is off in another world. And
happens. I mean, it's like with people who've known me for, and it's for most people who go through this. Most people who've known me for 5, 10, 20 years, and then the transition comes. It's difficult for people to change the habit because they've known you for one state all the time. And I have to change over. You can't really be mad at that, especially with the older people.
Yeah, and I only do it when I'm referring to someone who's not in the room. And I either say you or hey because they're right there. I don't need to refer to them with an alternate noun. That's weird.
When I'm confused or want to be polite to the transgenders, I just use the name, even if it is repetitive.
Yeah, I know. It's you're trying to be polite to these people, but you also want to play their game because it's silly.
I'm not playing into their pronouns.
Yeah.
I'm just
exactly.
saying I'm just going for the name then because we've been using language that works before this crap.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to respect someone is to use the style of respect that you believe in. And if they don't like that, well, it's like, well, this is what I believe. And if you don't like that, that's not my problem. And you can demand you can't demand someone to say certain words unless you're legally obligated to or something like that. So I don't like this forced speech. I never liked it. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what your feelings are.
That's the just today because there was Twitter drama. Good, I don't have a Twitter account, I can't be stuck into it because I probably would.
Today's Twitter drama has nothing to do with trans issues. It has to do with race, and apparently I'm a racist. So,
that's new.
Yeah, because I observed.
The other stuff was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's every day. I'm a horrible person. I just reveal horrible aspects of my character every day. It's amazing. So today, I made the observation that black people. Okay, here's the racial part. Black people who dress well on a Sunday morning are going to church. And therefore, because of that, they have a specific kind of behavioral code and manner about themselves because they go to church.
There's lots of black people who go to church, and in the United States especially, they're very religious for the most part.
Yes, they are.
Also surprisingly conservative.
Well, that's the thing. I can't use race or dressing well or Sunday mornings to deduce that there's a good chance these people are going to go to a church, and it might be a Baptist church, it might be a Catholic, it might be Christian, it might be some denomination of religion. And I also can't accurately make the deduction that I can determine their character after going to church for all these years. I can't do that. That's racist.
No, that has nothing to do with race. That's what the hell? Who made these claims that that's racist?
I don't think
that's just going by. Aren't you? So look, it looks to me like these complete lunatics want to tell us that you cannot tell anything about any person by the way they dress and behave.
No, you can't. It's impossible. There's no way. There's too many variables. You're not smart enough. You have no logical through line between A and B and C. It's just
it's even if people are just putting on a show, which some people do. They wear masks. They are manipulative assholes. They want to look nicer to us than they are. Yes, that exists. However, we have to begin mapping out other people at some point. We have to start with that somewhere. And that, for all intents and purposes, outside the internet, is looks. What do you look like? How do you dress?
Yeah. And
that tells a lot. And then there's
this is something that you learn whenever you read detective fiction. You could read A Study in Scarlet. I've said this many times. Read it all. If you don't want to read it all, read the first one. It's called Study in Scarlet by Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. And he explains how you observe someone, how they walk, how they talk, how they dress. This determines their lot in life, the job they have. Now, that's specific to Victorian England 100 or so years ago. But it's still applicable today. Obviously, there's a lot more variables, a lot more diversity.
Yeah. In most cases. And in most cases, that holds true. You can tell a lot about people already by their shoes. You can tell a lot by how they shake hands. Whether that's a too firm grip, or whether that's they hand you a dead fish. I never trust people who hand you a dead fish. They have insecurity issues, and they want you to believe that they are completely what's the word? Harmless. That they are completely harmless, that you have nothing to worry about them, and that is when you should worry about them. Because all the people who handed me the dead fish were absolutely insecure and turned out to be covert narcissists. Very passive-aggressive and very, very frightened.
Well, even right now, I have someone in the chat saying you can make probabilistic assessments based on group makeup. No, I could do that on individuals too. I don't need a group.
Yes, and my Mr. Miyagi, he when he was young, his dad had a fashion store, a big one in the town, and where he then had to work as a kid to learn the trade, and so nowadays he's just wearing secondhand stuff because he's over his rich face, and well, now he's just having a tea shop, and he said he can still tell what people have money simply by what they wear, and to the general person, the average person, you don't see the difference between certain fabrics, how things are woven, what things are imitations. And yes, of course, there's the stuff that comes from the same factory, etc. That's another story. But generally, when it goes high society, the difference can still be seen. And then you have and that can tell something about people. And then you have weird outliers, which I'm pretty sure that it's mostly the SJWs, the socialists, who make these claims that you can't tell anything about anyone. In certain parts of Africa, I forgot where exactly, you have something called, I think it was slum millionaires, and they are unemployed, often homeless people, but they invest every penny, every cent they get into the most expensive, flashy attire they can get, so that they look like millionaires. To get somewhere in life, to get a job, to get a maybe a good wife, maybe a millionaire wife. But the joke about that is, you can tell these slum millionaires by how flashy they are. If you know the most extravagant black urban people that maybe they look like pimps, that's these people. You can't not see them. So yes, they look rich, but they're definitely not. And that's all these things. And then on the other side, you have these same socialists telling us that you can always identify a neo-Nazi by these traits and these clothing pieces, etc. Which to some degree holds true. It has changed over the decades. The same also is true for the lefties. They have physical and clothing traits that are repeating patterns. And I'm sorry. I am saying, well, I shouldn't be sorry. I am saying also physical traits, because over the decades, and as horrible as that sounds, we've had political inbreeding within the party lines. So you often can tell who's part of the Green Party just by looking at the person and the clothes. Same goes for the Left Party. We have a party that's called Left in Germany. They are communists in all but name. And you can go to meetings of these groups, and you see they all look a bit similar in the left. They all look a bit similar in the Greens. They all look a bit similar in the other parties. And I find that very, very interesting, strange, and worrying. By the way, the Greens, which are also socialists, interestingly enough, they're usually wearing the more expensive stuff. So while they're trying to be all for the planet and all for the poor, they're the actual rich fucks.
Yeah, I never
who want
see
to
any.
Tell everyone how to behave. But I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, I never
I want
see
to get my caffeine.
any common man. Even with the NDP we have in Canada, the nicest NDPer we had, Jack Layton, was always dressed in a suit, but he was a politician. Politicians wear suits. It's assumed.
Yeah, that's part of that's really part of the thing. When we were starting our party project that was later taken over by SJWs, that's the third phase you have to get over when you're founding a party. The first phase is after founding, that you get the real conspiracy nut jobs with the reptile aliens and the Hollow Earth stuff and that kind of stuff. That's the first level you have to survive, because those want to get into your party and use it for their own gain, because they have the truth and you have to accept it. Then it's usually the neo-Nazis, because they are further down on the social rank in the country. So they are looking for something new to latch onto, and they come to you and try to tell you the absolute truth that only they have, so that you take it over. That you take it over. That's the second level you have to survive with your fledgling party, that you are not taken over by them. And then comes the third level for your fledgling political party that you have to survive. That I don't think anyone ever does. That is the red socialists, the communists coming into your party, who have the absolute truth that you have to accept and propagate, because they are legion. They are too many. They will come into your party and they will outnumber the founders and all their ideas.
Well, let's hope
probably by a number of 1 to 10.
Let's hope this anime about supposedly anti-Semitic or anti-Israel speak is not as extreme.
Can I throw in the last bit and I'll get my coffee and we can start the video?
You haven't? Wow, you've been working without coffee. That's impressive. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I got good vibes from Saturday. I had friends over new friends with whom I played Blackstone Fortress all day. That was good. Thing is I've seen the whole J debacle on Twitter, And yes, I've been very, you could say, antagonistic towards that. In part, that is because Jay's an idiot about the trans thing. If you look what he's saying, what he's spouting for over a year at least, is just the SJW fan fiction of
Yeah,
trans.
the same talking points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's all the fan fiction stuff.
It's not
And
just Jay; it's
why
his
I'm-
followers as well. They're insane.
Yeah, of course, because if you have these talking points, you attract the SJWs. The thing is, and I've talked about how gender dysphoria really works a couple times. It was probably 2 years ago, before when Jay first started to mention little hints of trans stuff on EFAB. I talked a lot on the EFAB Discord server back in the day, and also about this topic when it came up. I didn't push it there, but when it came up, I gave the same explanations I give here. I also sometimes mentioned Jay later on after he did that, but he never got active there to those mentions. So he didn't reply there in the server about those things when I raised them and mentioned him. Then he mentioned some bigger thing on an EFAB. I don't remember which exactly, and I wrote him a long DM about, hey, here's stuff. Talk about you can talk about it with me. I know way too much about this than I want to because I have the fucking issue, and I just want to make sure that people do not make mistakes, because it's easy to mistake some other issue in your life for this. That happens to a lot of people right now, especially because of all the ideological propaganda, the fetishism, and some even more sinister things going on that is pushing children into this, who now more and more come out. You can look up detransitioning videos that are completely swept under the rug by the Rainbow Movement and the SJWs, of course, because it breaks the narrative that transitioning is the cure-all and makes an amazing life. Especially for juveniles, it will destroy you, it will shorten your lifespan significantly, and not because of suicide. Thing is, he never replied to that. And when then the Jay Longbone thing happened this year, I think, about the where Jay Longbone brought up the suicide stats to Jay, because he didn't know anything about that. If you're really gender dysphoric, you try to figure out something about it, even if you're trying to suppress the dysphoria and try to make it through life. And you feel shit all the time because that's psychological pain. You will eventually do some research into the topic to find out a solution that may or may not be transitioning. Many are looking for other ways to deal with it, because we want to have a normal life. We don't want to be trans. We want to have normal lives. And I think that's a key line here you can quote me on. That's not self-hating. That's just imagine it's cancer. You don't want to be a cancer patient. You want to have a normal life where you don't have something that slowly kills you, because it's and eventually kicks you over the edge, and for which you need a medical procedure that is a huge strain on your body. Chemotherapy is essentially poisoning yourself willfully, for example. Radiation therapy is similar thing. And transitioning to hormone therapy, while it alleviates the gender dysphoria, it normalizes the brain, it's a huge strain on the body. For example, if you do it with only with pills, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone blockers, your liver has to do all of that. That's enormous strain on your liver, because you have extra medication every single day. There are some other ways to get your meds, but that's a
whole other discussion. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
For...
Thing I want to get to is Jay Longbone brought up the suicide stats to Jay, who did know nothing.
Oh, you're kidding?
You would know the fucking suicide stats.
Oh,
and he attacked her in response by making fat jokes about her because he thought it was just that the suicide stats were just propaganda. They were made up stuff.
So wait a second. You're trying
which
to say,
tells me this guy never suffered.
So he's never been in pain, and he thinks he's trans. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and because of that, then I tried to DM him again on Discord, because I don't have a Twitter. I don't want a Twitter. But he had his DMs closed at some point, so we didn't even get that message.
Right.
But this is the thing. Jay is talking complete bullshit, and he has dogpiling fans who defend him.
Anyway, let's forget about that for the day. We got 20 minutes of talking about stuff, which is always good to get started. But let's get to one donation, and we'll start the video and see how good this guy is. He looks pretty good. I saw a few minutes. He actually looks like a good YouTuber to cover. So here's Francis Bordcoppola. Thank you for the donation. People who complain about you pointing out characteristics from looks and behavior are the same who complain a country, city, workplace, etc. with mostly white people all look the same. I don't know. I really don't know, because the conversation was just jumping all over the place with people accusing me of this and that. I'm like, I don't know how this started. And it's becoming a hassle. It's not fun to try to respond to random comments from strangers who think you're evil just for using a racial trait to begin a logical deduction. I just don't care what these invalids have to say to me. And to stress the point and to reiterate the point and repeat it is just painful. So I just block these people now, which I just did. So yeah. It's a waste of my time, and I could talk to them in person. I've usually welcomed them either onto the Discord or DMing or whatever, but they never deal with me. So it's like, why are you bothering? Why you just want to make a fiasco online? For what? To misconstrue an argument and try to corner me into calling me a racist or sexist or what? It's like this is a stupid waste of time. So I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm going to be just as outspoken as I always am, but, if you're wasting my time, I'm just going to get rid of you. And you should do that with your life, too. Any people in your life that are wasting your time. Anyway, let's get to the video, please. Okay. It is 12 minutes. No, 13 minutes. Yeah. Let's do it.
Did you know that the idea of an ethnostate is completely untenable in reality without resolving to genocide? And
What?
Even if you managed to jump that hurdle,
What?
it would still suck for everybody anyway.
No, you could just have had a proper border policy from the beginning. But I think if you look at the there are very few ethnostatists, actual ethnostatists on the right wing.
Okay,
that's very fringe lunatics.
Well, let's talk about history, right? For the past 1,000 years, people originally came from their country of origin, and they lived there, and they didn't travel too far, and they built cities, and they grew and prospered for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there were infighting. There's all kinds of policing that had to be done, and maybe there was the Black Plague once in a while. But genocide?
I mean, look at the Holy Roman Empire of German nation, which is what the Central Europe was before there was Germany. There was basically the setting for your magical fairy tale kingdom thing, where every few miles there's another kingdom with another castle,
sure,
and another regent with another princess. Which made insane tariffs for you. You traveled from the south to the north, and you had to pay on your. Everyone wanted a share on the taxes on the goods. So there was a joke, a caricature, if you will, from I don't know. I can't tell you the year, centuries ago. About if you throw a piece of wood into the river somewhere in now southern Germany and let it drift up. I think the Rhine was used for that example. You throw it into the Rhine and let it drift up all the way to the north, to the coast, that this worthless piece of wood, or this one plank, would be taxed several dozen times and would cost some 300 or 700 times as much as it was when you threw it into the river. So it was a very, very big mesh of small little state thingies upon which you had then some kings and then some Kaiser above that. Point being, medieval times and before, every village is kind of inbred because people don't travel very far. That's why people from one village look one way, and people from the next village still look, they're still the same major race, but they look a bit different. People from that village have these funny eyes, people from that village have the funny nose, people from the other village have too long chins, and so on and so on. And that goes all the way through this time. So if you want to go all ethnostate, you have to define what that ethnicity actually is, because it's usually a culture, and it's usually just the major people, group of people that live there. And if we go for Hungary, for example, they're not 100% pure Hungarians. That's bullshit.
They are. We are not.
I forgot we have one here.
Yeah. But basically, you're right. In like 2,200, I believe, like we were like close to like 100%. Yes, but basically, like half the population died because of the Mongolian invasion. Mm-hmm. So, what the king decided to do is to call German immigrants to come and help us with the population decrease, because we just couldn't like boost the population otherwise. So we had to like call like all the surrounding areas that like we need like more population, because like we pretty much like had like trouble with that. We couldn't run the economy otherwise. So it is a funny thing, because I don't think like anyone is 100% Hungarian anymore. Same goes for like some other countries in the region, like wherever like been struck by war.
Yeah, but even in that, you still had immigrants from a somewhat similar major culture.
Yes, like Bavarian Germans. That's where the most of the immigrants came from.
Oh, Hungarians are like Bavarians?
Yes, like we.
Okay, now I don't want to emigrate. That's just Schwaben.
We call them Schwabs.
Oh my god! And you're not getting butchered for it?
No, they claim to be Schwabs. Like they have.
Okay, then they're not Bavarians.
Well, like
if you call a Schwabe a Bavarian or a Badenser, or if you call a Badener a Badenser, he will kill you. But if you call a Badener a Schwabe or a Bavarian, he will be very pissed. If you call a Bavarian one of these other things, he will be very pissed. So maybe there's something else went on over the centuries that they're fine with that.
Well,
they have been here for like 500 or 600 years. I think
today these groups are very, very distinct.
We could say there's a gypsy culture throughout all of Europe, depending on certain areas.
Too.
Yeah. So with even other countries, there's the concept of the country bumpkin. They just sort of hang out and stay in their village. Like I think Italy has one called Terrones. They're just sort of they stay. Like the villages are all dying in Italy. They've been dying for decades because they're all moving to the bigger cities where the jobs are and all the technology is. So that's just progress. It's sad because Italy is literally handing out houses and real estate for free in these villages, which are beautiful.
Oh yeah, you have Chinese colonies in some of these villages that are you could say effectively state run by China, where they have manufacturers for Chinese products that are just finished in Italy, in Italian villages by Chinese, so that they can print on "Made in Italy." But it's Chinese. But it's solely Chinese products.
Yeah. So
there is a possibility that through these Chinese village colony factory things, that large parts of Corona got into Italy in the first place, because we had this huge breakout there in Europe to begin with. Right.
So in regarding to ethnostates or city-states that are purely one culture or race or whatever, I need to have an example of when they just degrade into genocide or self-genocide. I think that's what he's implying on the video here. So maybe he's making a joke. I don't know, but I can't think of one.
Yeah. I just wanted to go into and with the German thing. Yes, there is the wider "the Germans" thing, which refers to the Germanic tribes
Oh, I see.
But if you look at the individual tribes, which you can still see, if you put up a genetic map, or if you just drive through all the the 16 German states, you will see vast differences between the people in looks and in culture. Because a Prussian, Prussia doesn't exist anymore, but what we have left of Prussians is mainly Brandenburg and surrounding states. Very different from Saxons, very different from Friesen, very different from whatever you find further west and in the south. And that's not even going into the original tribes that Julius Caesar was fighting. There is the anecdote that he mainly dealt with the Sueben, who I think either went extinct or moved to Spain. There was a ginger tribe, essentially. They had this weird knot on the side of their heads. And they were very savage in their fighting, from what is told. And Caesar just decided that they're all Germans. All the tribes they're just all Germans. That's the anecdote, because he was too busy to learn all the different names of all the tribes. That's one anecdote of how allegedly that happened, but I'm not firm on the history. I just find it funny that maybe we got called Germans because Julius Caesar was too lazy.
All right.
Thing is with this ethnostate thing is that's usually not what that's usually a straw man that the left puts up about right-wing movements who want to close borders, who just want to prevent mass immigration by the impoverished and criminals, of course, and those are not necessarily the same thing. Which is also a straw man that the left puts up, that the right thinks that all poor people are criminals, or all criminals are poor, or whatever. It's not the case. It's just that if you get all the poor people in from another country, for one, they will be unable. That country will lack the manpower to build itself up, especially when they lose their competent people. Secondly, when you get an influx of poor people into your country, there's only one group, there's two groups who benefit from that, but the main group, the left should be opposed to, because the left is opposed to capitalism, allegedly. But the group who profits from that is the locust capitalists that the left allegedly hates so much, because when you get a bunch of poor people into your country, well, you can push wages down, because there will be people who will work for less. And then the left accuses the native population of just being too I don't know, elitist or something, to work for lower wages. Which is something to hear from the left, that always says they're for the workers, is pretty telling. That they're shaming the native population for, the native people are just above wanting to work those jobs, or working for less. Like, no, that's not it. Those are not wages you can work off if you have the basic lifestyle. When the wages are so low that you are better off in the social security system, because you get more money there and can do whatever with your time. It's why would you get out of that to get a job where you just waste away? That is also a dead end at the same time. People who come from the outside cannot get into the social security system and then get those menial jobs. They will be pushing down the wages because they will work for less. That's the whole problem. You don't want mass immigration because it lowers wages. And furthermore, when we already have an unemployment problem, why the hell do you want more people in your country when you don't even have enough work for the people you have? What usually is missing when they talk about that on higher levels is that there's a missing number of specialists. But people who are unemployed, they have a lot of time to learn stuff. You could put them to actual educational programs and not the bullshit that social ministries usually put the people to because they think they're too retarded. The social ministries usually want to push people into the menial jobs, and that is just backfiring. Anyway, to finish this up, the second group who profits from mass immigration, besides the locust capitalists that the left so hates, is the left itself, because it is the left that promises to outsiders, you can get jobs here, you can get a better life here, and you can get into our social security system and our healthcare benefits that even our natives aren't getting as easy as you will. So please vote for us at the next election, because we are going to try to give you the vote in this country. They want voting flock, nothing else.
All right. Let's get back to the video.
Because Studio Trigger does. Yo, I'm the one and only true Eminem, here with another trademark Weeb Revolution hot take for y'all. Close them furry porn tabs, because you will be getting your full dose of ooh right here. Or, actually, don't close them. I ain't telling you how to live your life, go nuts, tiger. And, in the meantime, I'm gonna tell you why being a mixed blood mongrel is kind of awesome, actually. There are a few studios that are as consistent in creating good anime as Trigger. I don't really watch that much anime anymore. They still didn't realize my ruse. Please send the extraction unit. But whenever a new Trigger show comes out, my ears perk up above the ground, rousing me from my death slumber. Trigger is well known for their fluid, almost cartoonish animation style, weird-ass plots, colorful characters, and this Chunibyo-style moral heart that manifests as an overwhelming need to row fight the power. And also aliens. It's always gonna be aliens for some reason. However, Trigger is also almost eerily consistent when it comes to producing...
I'm a bit lost right now. Maybe I'm out of the loop for too long on the background of making anime. Wasn't that Kill la Kill? Isn't that made by Gainax?
No, Kill la Kill was the first Trigger anime after they branched out from Gainax.
Right.
Oh, it's a branch. It's a branch out. Okay, that explains the similarity in style I saw with some other shows I know from Gainax.
Yeah.
I think they were making that. Oh, I can't remember that show, but like it was like two angels that had to get out from heaven.
Panty and Stocking with Garter.
Panty and Stocking, yes.
It's beautiful. Watch it. It's amazing.
I have seen some of it.
It's partly inspired by Invader Zim.
Yeah, and I think like Gainax, like CEO was like so unimpressed that he said like fuck off to those employees.
Oh,
and then they made their own studio pretty much.
Well, I only know these guys because they were mentioned. Was it this year or last year? They're working with CD Projekt Red, I thought, to make the cyberpunk some sort of anime. I can't remember what it was called, but that's the only way I know them. I think there was one anime I watched, one episode. It was called Darling in the Something. Darling.
Yeah, let's not even talk about it.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell am I watching? I can't understand. So I kind of checked out.
That's like also a show that like what happens if like 20 different producers are influencing your show.
Oh.
And before anyone mentions that there's actually an animator from Trigger that actually helped storyboard a Steven Universe episode.
Oh, God.
We had that discussion, I believe. Yeah, we talked about.
Oh, you did? Okay, well, I just got here. Sorry.
That was a few months ago. Yeah, I do remember you talking about that, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Also, that has to be a new record. 13 seconds and Wisp already went on it.
Well, you know,
the usual
you don't need.
rants.
There's really no timer on this. He just sort of goes off, and that's
It's a natural
it's a
part
natural
of
thing.
Smudcast.
There's no impetus. There's no influence. It's just poof. There we go.
Okay, going back to the topic at hand.
Yes, Studio Trigger.
Revolutionary and anti-fascist content. Whenever I watch a Trigger show, I know they got me. I know that 12 episodes in, there won't be a dumb reveal where the clear fascists turn out to kind of have a point, actually. I can rest assured that whatever plucky protagonist is driving the show this time, they'll just punch the fascist in the climax.
That's one of the cruel realities. The cruel things about reality, let's say. instance, better phrase. Most groups have a point to their existence. No matter what kind of atrocity they put humanity through. Most people who believe in the socialist lie think this is for the greater good of humanity. They want to with the useful idiots, not the people who pull the strings, because they know they're just doing it for themselves, and they have no problem going over millions of corpses. But the useful idiots who only listen to emotional arguments, they in their heart, they just want to do something good for other people. They want to make the world a better place, and they see suffering, and that's why they give their all to make that, and why they then feel justified. It's the next step to use violence against you, because how can you be against something that is obviously just for something positive, just for making the world better? So you must be against making the world better, which makes you evil for daring to criticize the useful idiot just wanting to make the world better, and therefore you can be done away with. Violence can be used against you. And with the critique of what this guy probably calls the fascists is usually nationalists who get their country or their wherever they are, or their people, completely threatened by another force, by an outside force, whether that is through active violence and genocide, or by subversion and destruction of the culture, destruction of the people, whether that is through overbreeding, which is one of the oldest strategy in human history. It's not a new thing. It's not a conspiracy thing by the right wing. That's one of the oldest things. And the German Turks in the Green Party bragged about that even in the 90s in our parliaments in Germany, that the Turks will outbreed the Germans in a couple decades, and that will be a good thing. And one of these guys even wanted to run for chancellor. So that's not a new thing. These people admit to these things. So when the left complains about nationalism, it is when it's not communists, not socialists who want to enforce their own country, their own culture, or rather enforce, re-strengthen it, protect it rather from other forces. That is not yet nationalism. That can just be patriotism and just a defensive move. Like imagine Israel. Like since the topic is about anti-Israel propaganda that was made allegedly, we'll see that later on, because I haven't seen the shows that he's referring to probably. Israel is supposed to be the nation of the Jews, so that they can finally have a nation again in the ancient homeland from millennia ago at this point. And so they have a natural drive to defend that and to protect themselves from outside and subversive forces. Will you call that fascism? Because that's the exact same thing that the left is complaining about in, for example, Hungary. With the additional thing that Israel is surrounded by very, very violent other cultures around itself that seek its destruction.
All right.
So it's what when is it fascism? When is it just defending yourself? That's the big question. And I can imagine that some of these shows probably tackle that.
Well, I do remember.
Were your people horribly disenfranchised and tortured and killed by some other people in the past, generations ago, centuries ago, and you're still struggling, like the native population of the Japanese islands? Nobody's talking about them. And it's like however with the usually black urbanites in the United States, it's still about the slavery, the oppression. That is still brought up today.
Well,
would you call that a fascism? Because they're all supposed to band together and beat up everyone else to get what they want, when we don't even know what that really is.
Well, in respect to anime that does this sort of theme or does it for whatever reason, part of entertainment, the best example I could think of is the bad guy from Hellsing Ultimate. Is he just called the Major or the Fuhrer? I don't remember his name.
The Fur, yeah.
He has these big speeches about, what it means to be a vampire and how they're going to conquer the world and how powerful they are. But this is all a giant ruse just to get Arcado, or I don't know how they call him in the Hellsing Ultimate.
Alucard.
Is it Alucard? I hate that name. To call him, yeah. So they all do this just to get him to full power to kill everything. That's their goal anyway. So they want to make this crazy night of murder and death and blood just to entice the hero to do what they want, which is good for storytelling because that's what an antagonist should be doing. But it's under the guise of a vampire Nazi cult. And it's crazy fun. So it's very entertaining to watch, but I don't think I'm going to take it seriously. Like, oh yeah, this is pretty much what bad guys do, and this is what a race-centric or focused supremacist organization would do, and it's over the top for a reason, and it's fun for a reason, and I like that.
A similar thing was done in Black Lagoon, where you have these real leftover Aryan Nazis trying to get old salvage some treasure from a sunken U-boat. Where the main cast is also doing this thing at the same time, and that's a fun little side plot, and also resolved in a very interesting way.
All right,
because but I'm not. Watch Black Lagoon; it's great.
Oh God, yeah. Francis Ford Coppola, thank you. So this Putz's first praise is that this anime is without nuance and regurgitates his political views back at him. Color me unimpressed. He's having a good time, at least. He's not doing anything crazy, as far as I can tell. But we've heard worse, guys. So yeah. Here's Crumb. Thanks for the super chat. $9.99. Very specific. Weeb Revolution are Garbo. Oh, they say that fascism is when you simply don't care about things. All right. And they play apologetics for clearly evil villains because capitalism made them do it. Okay.
World War II, Italy clearly didn't care at all.
Yeah.
That's why they lost.
Yeah. They were like, Germany wants to be friends, whatever. Yeah, sure.
It's time for siesta.
Yeah. It's too hot. We're going to surrender. We're just too tired. Yeah. Anyway, we haven't watched much of this guy. I haven't seen anything of him yet, aside from this video, to say what else he thinks. But
that's just since this is an Israel topic.
Supposedly.
Number one just a site info. Until 2015, which is the mass immigration crisis, Germany was considered by the Jews as the safest country on the planet for Jews since World War II. That's an interesting irony. Secondly, I think it says a lot about how much Germany had worked in order to make up for the sins of the past. But in 2015, all that changed, and a lot of Jews fled Germany to other countries, including Israel, because of the rise of Islamism in our country. The neo-Nazis were never much of a big problem, and the whole irony right now is that we do have burning synagogues, and the left is always outraged when a synagogue is burning, wants to paint it on the neo-Nazis, and then the inquiry happens, and it turns out to be an Islamist. And then the left doesn't want to talk about it anymore. We've had instances where it was already mostly known that it was an Islamist doing it, and the left was blocking that inquiries into the issue were going to happen while spreading that it must have been neo-Nazis, and it was the AfD of all parties, of all things, like the horrible right-wing new Nazi party, that was friends of the Jews at the time, and demanded that the inquiries happen. Because it was Islamists. And here's the next interesting bit where that leads into. The actual Nazis under Hitler cooperated with Islamists because they had a common enemy, the Jew. For different reasons, of course, but it was the same common enemy. And I'm sorry for forgetting the name. You know I'm bad with names, but it was the current chief region president. I don't know what it was called. You know the kind of position, head of state of the Palestine region at the time of World War II or before, because before the final solution because it's called the final solution because the Nazis were looking for others, like just dumping all the Jews on Madagascar, where they then would have starved because it would be too many people. One of them was also to just send them to their homeland, their ancient homeland. However, the Muslim head of state was vehemently against that because he didn't want dirty Jews in his country. And Hitler then asked him, well, what am I supposed to do with them? And what did the Islamists tell him? I don't care. Burn them if you must. And the rest is history. So, and this is where my conclusion comes into, that if the Jews want a state in their homeland, I think it's justified if the people who've occupied that homeland, even if that's over 1,000 years at this point, also just want the death of these people, then give them their fucking homeland. Because then the Palestinians of that time are nothing but ethnostatist genociders. They are the fascists then. And since we're just drawing random lines on the map at this point, since the late 1800s, early 1900s, like, why are you complaining about that part now? This is what ruined the Balkan. The left only complains about the random line drawing when it's about Africa, and that did lead to a lot of problems. But it's also what ruined the Balkan already. We only have problems in Macedonia, in Kosovo, in Herzegovina, because Woodrow Wilson, your wonderful asshole of a president in the United States, thought it was a great idea to just draw random maps and put random people together. This is why we have this eternal powder keg here in Europe between Greece and the rest of us.
So basically, Wisp is saying that the Austro-Hungarian Empire was a good thing, and destroying it was the greatest sin America has ever done, and the French.
The French were always a mistake.
Yes.
I mean,
the food is good, though.
Who's going to disagree with that?
The food is the best, but everything else, not so much.
I love French cuisine. It's just.
I mean, the Northern French hate the Southern French, and the Northern and Southern French hate the Parisians. So it's like every other country. Everyone hates everyone.
Yeah.
I think every French
We just stick
person
together
hates
when
the
shit comes
Parisians.
from the outside. Just leave us to our inner conflicts of how we hate each other. Don't poke us from outside, because the worst thing you want is a country that is bantering and bickering about each other inside the country is to band together and giving you a very stern look. You don't want that from any country, including France.
All right. Here is some donations and a super chat. Steven Juniverse. Okay. Thank you, Steven. Major's motivations were psychological. Is that Helsing? Yeah.
Yeah, Helsing Ottoman.
Okay. He was a psycho who wanted to create a massive war. That's true. Because like Alucard and Pip, he thrives in chaos. Major hates Alucard because Alucard's a monster that looks like a human. and he is a human that looks like a monster. I thought he loved Alucard. He wanted him to do all his work for him, like destroying London or whatever it was. But
it's too long ago.
Yeah, no, it was that's a wild, crazy, action-packed anime. It's just nuts. So I recommend that if you want to be entertained and just not think too much about.
Yeah. And if you really like Hellsing Ultimate, I recommend reading the manga, because the humor in it is hilarious.
Oh yes, the art style.
You have all this over-the-top crazy shit, and then you have humor that just breaks you.
Cutesy little weird silly shit. You're like, what the hell is going on over there for 2 panels, and it jumps back to.
Yeah, and at one point, what was she called? Celeste?
Celeste
something?
Victoria.
Yeah, at some point, because her gun is called Harkonnen, in a dream, she is haunted by the spirit of Baron Harkonnen from Dune. Like, I am your gun. Like, he's just a fat guy floating behind us. He's terrified. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Alucard is dreaming about Bruce Willis.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah, they did take that into Hellsing Ultimate. I remember.
Yeah, so the artist and the mangaka is very goofy.
I'm just lost with all this weeb shit.
I know. We'll get there. We'll get to the video. All right. Here's Crump. Thanks again for the $9.99. Some Arab Muslims were volunteer SS members, and some German soldiers partook in prayer rituals, carpets, and everything. Yeah, no one's saying there's a monolith.
That is true.
Yeah.
They were specifically there to hunt Jews.
Although, I take back what I said earlier. It's like, if I may say one thing about Trigger, I can kind of see them doing a Super Sentai anime.
Oh yeah,
I think it would be in the character. Yeah,
totally in the repertoire.
Anyway, the way the left seems to portray fascism seems to be solely a thing of perspective, in that it's bad when the others are doing it, and when we are doing it, we are not doing it. As you can see with all the big communist nations and federations and whatever bullshit they call themselves, they were just expansionist, imperialist empires. The Soviet Union was an imperialist, expansionist empire, as was Mao's China, and in a way is still today. And these acted in every way possible fascist. You were only allowed to be of the government opinion, otherwise you got killed. They had giant military parades. They had a personality cult of their respective Führer. They say dear leader or some bullshit, but leader is only English for Führer. But the German word we usually use is Anführer, which is the guy who walks first. Like, you also have the Fremdenführer, which is the guide in foreign countries. Like the Sherpas, for example, they would be Fremdenführer. They guide you in the foreign land. That's because the dear leader in communist thought is he guides us to utopia. That's the idea. But it's all socialism, all communism leads to nothing but a fascist dystopia.
All right.
They just don't admit it.
Here is one from Francis Bordacopla. Thank you, sir. Difference of anti-Zionism, all right, in the West versus the Middle East. In the West, it's criticism of its expansion, which is fair, I think. Well, it's none of our business, but okay. In the Middle East, they don't like Israel because they believe Jews are the root of all evil. They want a second Holocaust. This is a big, big topic I'm not going to touch. And I don't.
Yeah, but that is a true statement, and it's the same reason why the socialists, and that's not just the brown socialists, but also the red socialists, are so anti-Semitic, because as they are anti-capitalist, as were the Nazis, they see the Jews, who were traditionally, well, out of historical reasons, pushed into money and trade merchant professions, seen as the manifestations of capitalism. So in order to root out capitalism, what do they need to genocide? What do they need to root out? The culture that lives it the most. So
lot
that's
of
that's where
Jews.
where the two come together.
All right. Let's get back to the video.
Will briefly turn me into a squirming ball of happy noises. Case in point, BNA, or Brand New Animal, Trigger's foray into satisfying the vibrant furry demand awakened by Beastars. Before I firmly grab this particular bull by its balls though, spoiler warning. It is impossible to talk about the anti-fascist message of BNA without spoiling the story, because for some brilliant reason, Trigger decided to reveal that that's actually a theme in literally the last episode. Thanks guys, that's nice. The premise behind BNA is incredibly
Where's the
simple.
proof to that?
Beast folk live among humankind
he's
and
not
have done
gonna
so
show it.
forever. Don't worry about it, there is a lot of hand-waving involved. Beast folk are minority coded, and they're discriminated
Minority
against, but
coded.
not in like a fun
Oh, fuck off with your coded bullshit, man.
Wait a second. Are we talking
Yes.
genetically coded, like in the minority? Like
No,
a-
No,
He's
he might-
meaning the bad word. Like
The bad word?
Video essays coded.
He means the newspeak of gay coded and child coded and that all that
Which
new
is just
bullshit.
like a short
where they
term
say
for
just
stereotypes.
Yeah,
for,
because he
like,
showed
essays.
on the screen some sort of beast deoxyribonucleic. I was like, what was that? And then it just, okay. And
yeah.
now-
The idea, the thing is, today we often use non-human species for racism metaphors, whether that be animal people, which you probably find more in Japanese stories, or aliens, because they hit the point of the other being just as valuable as we are home to people. Because it also shows it's what Star Trek did, basically. It's
Yeah,
like
that-
there's all the
that Star
aliens
Trek
and we interact with them, and it also puts us as humans, as the species, the race of humans, closer together, because now we know there's other species and they may be as valuable as us. They may also be aggressive. Maybe we also started on the wrong foot, and so on and so on. It's just a current era thing, more of a current era thing to use this instead of just the blatant racism between human cultures. That's a thing. We're so beyond that. We're so beyond the actual between humans racism that we don't even use it directly in our stories anymore. Because at least in Western civilizations, we don't give a shit about that anymore. And since we're talking about the whole fascist thing and ethnostate crap, I don't see the left criticizing China for putting the Han Chinese as the new master race. And people who've been to China often retell that the Han Chinese do seem to have this attitude that they are the new master race, and all the others that they conquer are just there to be exploited, be enslaved, and be done away with once it's okay. That's, of course, not for all Han Chinese, but it's the main sentiment. Like, not all blonde, blue-eyed Germans in Nazi Germany were on board with this whole Aryan bullshit. And it's the same, that if you have that kind of real ethno-nationalism, then you have actual racism. But we're not talking about that in China for some reason. We're just talking about it in the real Western countries, if you will.
All right. Well, I'm a little confused on the minority coded still, so I'm just going to forget.
It just means they're put up as the minority population.
Sure.
It's just, look, it's newspeak. It means stereotyped. What he means, and even then, it's a bad choice of words because all it means is these are the minority people.
I don't perceive people as minorities or majorities or whatever that even. How do you even perceive a number?
Yeah, they're just people.
Oh,
We're all just
yeah.
people.
Yeah, because you're already so far developed in your view of the world and of people. You're so far beyond racism and stereotyping that you can't even conceive how these people think, because they're so low on this whole comprehension.
All right, let's keep going.
where the brainlets can pretend everything is fine in a very not fun way, where there are literal murder gangs roaming the cities and conducting impromptu lynchings. The Beastville community was given a city-sized area called Anima City, which is terrible branding, but whatever, to create their own ethnostate, where they can live in peace inside Japan's borders. Huh. That's interesting.
There's
I could swear
skyscrapers.
there's like a one-to-one real-life comparison of sorts. That's weird. Our protagonist, a
Just
girl
one?
named Michiro, becomes a beast person seemingly out of nowhere one day, and in order to not be literally murdered, travels to
I have to
Anima
refresh
City.
and getting lags
There,
again.
she meets a good boy named Shiro Ogami, the self-proclaimed protector of all beast folk,
Cutting away
gets
half the
embroiled in
text.
politics, joins a baseball team and has an entire Mighty Ducks arc in the span of a single episode, finds a friend whom she thought dead, and in general has a lot of fun, wacky adventures. Things start to escalate when the villain of the show, Alan Silvasta, arrives in Anima City and starts to plot something vaguely nefarious. But the show will not tell you what, or why, until the very last second, and it will frequently pivot to suggest that maybe he's good actually, even though we all know better because he's an Aryan-looking motherfucker in a Trigger show. Of fucking course he's the bad.
So it's
He
cutting
has
off from you a
blonde
lot.
hair.
It's buffering all the time. But yeah, I wanted to comment on that. All the evil fascist characters, for some reason, are always blonde and blue-eyed. Are you trying to tell me something here? Are you trying to be racist against Germans? Or Swedish?
They have
I mean, being racist against the Swedish is fine, but
recessive genes, yet they're so superior and evil. How can this be?
Trigger show. Of course he's the bad guy. Are you stupid?
so he's a Euro
The
villain.
core theme of BNA is finding that you're different, being hated by society because of it, and trying to see things from another person's perspective as a result. Michiro isn't a normal beast person.
Yeah, but that's like every story with a narrator. It's just the narrator's perspective. Yeah, sure. Third person, singular, double. Whatever.
This story is as old as time.
It's the hero's journey.
Oh my god.
Oh
She
no!
becomes one and spends the majority of the show trying to understand the people she's unfamiliar with, mostly through interacting with the good boy Shiro. This, of course, nicely fits into a discussion about systemic
And
racism,
the furries
but
must
can
love
also
this
be
show.
examined with a queer theory lens.
What?
Oh,
What?
No, so
What?
many things.
Oh no, he's not. No, it's buffering. I can't. What? How am I supposed to be outraged when it's buffering all the time?
That one sentence was a bit too much. Let me just rewind that.
Into a discussion about systemic racism,
Okay, systemic racism.
Ah!
So that's one.
It's everywhere. He's bringing up all the buzzwords.
Here we go.
but can also be examined with a queer theory lens.
A queer theory. What the?
Everyone can be examined with every lens. Shut the fuck up, you pretentious idiot.
Oh, but it gets better.
I, as a bisexual man,
Okay, so
Nobody cares whether you're bisexual. Nobody gives a shit.
because
You're probably
I
mostly
like,
hanging around with women anyway.
Because-
if you want to peck a man or be pecked by a man, just fucking do it. Nobody cares what you're doing in your bedroom. Grow the fuck up. You're not oppressed in the West.
so
This isn't Saudi Arabia or Qatar where you get thrown off a roof for it.
because
just peck a dude and getting decked by him like everyone else.
so because you like
Okay, I hate to say it, but it's 2021. It's current year in the West. You are not oppressed.
I'm sorry, but I
Oh,
don't
that's right.
have the queer lens, so I can't see you.
yeah,
at
I'm not a
all.
bisexual man. I can't use the queer theory lens properly. Can I get some assholes in here to help me out?
You know what that actually is? That queer theory lens?
No.
It's the outrage lens. It's how do I find something to be outraged about? That how do I find something where I can be outraged about being oppressed because it's like the number 23 lens. I keep bringing that up. Did you know the number 23 is everywhere? Just put on the lens and you see it everywhere. And that's what the queer theory lens is. It's looking for gay oppression where it isn't. It's like the feminist lens. It's looking for female oppression where none is, and when it happens in the Islamist world, well, we don't talk about that.
And the less we talk about the 69 lens, the better.
Anyway, this has gone in a very odd direction very quickly. I thought we were going to talk about anti-Semitism.
Just you brought up everything. Out of the blue, everything.
Yeah.
Like, you call us the conspiracy theorists for calling out your bullshit. Like, are you even listening to yourself? You want to see all these weird patterns in everything. That's what I hear of delusional schizoids. Of paranoid schizophrenia. That is what these lenses and these queer and feminist theories and this race theory, this new race theory is teaching you. It's teaching you to be a paranoid schizophrenic who sees all these conspiratorial oppression patterns everywhere. You're in a cult. It's brainwashing. And it's very subtle because it's trying to tell you, but if you adopt our dogma, you will be a better person. You will be able to see all the evil in the world, and only then you can really fight it. And then you have to tell everyone about it to also do it this way and accept the dogma and join in, because if they don't, they obviously don't want to make the world better and thus are evil people. They are the oppressors you are looking for. That's how they radicalize you, and in the end you will be on the killing fields. Number 23 is everywhere, don't forget. Like, look, this video is 12 minutes and 53 seconds long, so we have the 2 and the 3 as the last digits of the minutes, and the seconds is 23, obviously. And the 1 and the 5 are left. That's the sum of that is 6, which is 2 times 3. That's 23 again, so it's everywhere. It's fucking everywhere.
All right.
Did I kill you?
Huzzah! All right, so racism, queer theory lens, metaphors. Yeah, let's go.
Also, we are at 4 minutes 23 seconds. What a coincidence! Is it really a coincidence?
And half of this stream has just been whiff brands.
Yay. Okay, let's go.
That the metaphor finding one day that you're different, trying to fight it, and eventually accepting yourself by interacting with others who went through the same ordeal is not lost on me. So this is all good, nice stuff, very PG-13, that we can all just get
really
behind,
completely
right?
irrelevant whether you're bisexual.
We're not here to talk about...
I love both cock and vagina, therefore I can relate to these characters who are PG-13.
Yeah, how the fuck does that wreck your life?
Also, if you use queer race baiting theory, you can see through this lens that this person is transsexual. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, if you make up fanfiction bullshit, everything can be trans. Don't give
4chan any ideas.
Oh, this wife, she changed her last name to that of her husband when they married. That's a change, so she is trans.
What?
That's the level we're talking about at this point.
Change your name, become the thing you marry. Oh, what? No.
Yeah, but it's like one thing changes. Oh, that's trans. That's definitely trans. That's a trans experience because you changed something about your life. And
there is literally a story from decades ago where someone literally married the PS2.
Okay.
If anyone remembers that.
The hero's journey is always a trans story, because in the beginning the hero is just a wimp, and at the end it's a hero, so he transitions from a wimp to a hero. That makes him trans.
And here I was hoping that this would be an adaptation of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. But no, it's I gotta be gay, I gotta be bisexual to understand the story.
No, you don't. No one cares.
That would be too intellectual.
All right, back we go.
That stuff. We are here to talk about how the show becomes a full-on anti-Israel propaganda, and I love that. Okay, let's step back.
Wow.
In BNA, the beast folk suffer from some kind of a genetic condition that can make them go ballistic if they're too stressed out. In humans, that would just be considered
X-Men?
having a bad case of the Mondays, but for beast folk,
X-Men.
it's given a scientific name, the Nirvasil syndrome. I don't have to tell you, but again, the metaphor is laid pretty thick. The sciencey bros identifying a completely normal part of human behavior, branding with a sciencey name, and trying to imply
Not
that
normal.
somehow a
No. You're doing the same mistake that all the socialists do. It's not normal. It's natural. Being gay is not normal. It's natural. Normal would mean a large portion of the population, or even the majority does it. And that's percentage, not just some.
Okay, now explain how exactly it's like X-Men. Explain.
Because the X factor is triggered by immense stress to the body and of psyche. Like a near-death experience can trigger the X factor. I think that's what they did for Wolverine or Deadpool.
I thought it
not
was
just the induction of stuff.
I thought it was puberty.
And literally an entire gameplay.
Puberty is very stressful.
Well, no, that's what I mean. It comes to term at puberty. That's when your abilities not mature, but they come out.
They manifest.
Did they change that a bit in the movies?
Yeah.
I remember it being explained there by that a lot of stress can trigger a dormant X factor.
There are other characters in the Marvel universe that get their powers as kids, so it's not always the same.
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So from what I can recall, they never said anything about the X Factor in the movies, but they never contradicted it either.
It was only brought up in the first one, I believe. That's where they talk about Xavier's talking about what the X Factor is and how it affects people, and that was the whole shtick with Wolverine and Magneto and the plot with Rogue. So that was a little convoluted.
That can be. I could imagine there could be different ways of how that can be triggered, either by natural thing, by puberty, or by the stress thing. They could all be true. We have these things in us humans as well. Like certain genes are triggered by immense stress. For example, it's a natural for some people who have that gene. It's a natural thing that the fingernails start to get lines like these. They're not smooth anymore. They have these what is it, vertical? Along from the bed of the nail to the tip, long lines where it goes up and down. I don't know the crevices. I don't know the English word for that. And after 40, that can naturally develop, like the gene switches on. However, if you have that gene and you're under 40 at any age and you have immense stress, that gene can be triggered, and then you get this effect on your fingernails before that. It's just a tiny example of these things. So they do exist.
All right. Anyway,
sorry for pinging you so much there, Smud. I was trying to get a hold of you earlier when you guys still hadn't started talking about it yet. I didn't know this video was about BNA.
Oh, you didn't? Oh. It's apparently...
No, and I watched the show and I adore it because I adore Trigger stuff, and this guy is a fucking idiot. He also he made himself completely invalid when he said that none of the fascist villains are turned to be good guys. Kill a kill.
Yes, that half point of that show is pretty much
but by the last 10 episodes, it's revealed that their mother is the actual villain. The sister, I can't remember her name.
Is that school? No.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. The older sister is playing a villain to trick their mother, so that way
she's building up this. And she's building up this super, essentially fascist school in order to build an army in order to fight her mother.
Who is a worse fascist? Technically, it's two fascists fighting each other, but
it's just the
sister is the better of two evils because she still wants.
Why am I?
Well, she's not truly evil. She's just going for a necessary evil that she has to do.
Yeah, she's
which is usually when. And that's a problem in when your nation is threatened by another nation with war. You can't just sit around and be all nice like you were, or just have a jolly, happy army like, well, we're going to the battle now, la 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 la. No, you have to enforce shit. Sadly,
Yeah.
And hopefully after that bigger threat is gone, you can return to niceties again. That's the horrible thing about necessary evil.
Why am I suddenly seeing X-Men parallels with this show now? You mentioned it earlier, but now I'm like seeing some of the things that like are similar.
Satsuki.
Well, when you look at most Japanese anime about kids or high schoolers, there's a huge metaphysical, if not magical, component. So it's either a school, a military school, where they learn skills or magic skills, or some part of the aristocracy has a special bloodline that gives them magic or whatever. So that's a big,
or just a normal ass school, that helps the students adapt to normal society.
There's just a crazy amount of these stories over the past 20 years in anime.
Yeah,
all from Japan.
And so when it comes to this city, Anima City, the whole point of the city in universe, the whole reason they create the city is because the stress factor he's talking about, which he is correct on that, the stress factor like how animals will lash out when they get stressed. Except with the Beastmen, it's amplified to the nth degree. And so Japan, who has been dealing with this issue for thousands of years, they eventually come to peace talks to try to fix this problem, so that way the Beastmen aren't stressed and the humans leave them alone. That was
that the humans are safe and the beast people are safe.
Eventually, what they want to do is integrate both the Beastmen back into the rest of Japan. The problem is they haven't been able to do that.
So the Animal City is basically Genosha.
Yes. And
all right.
The blonde dude here is some long-lived person, just like Shiro, who they're like survivors from some fight thousands of years ago. Magic reasons they are extremely both long-lived. He sees it as, and his is the whole, well, humans wronged us, so now all humans have to die, or all humans have to become beasts. That's his logic.
So it is Genosha.
Yes, he is. He is Magneto. He is Magneto. This is very much an X-Men style story.
Yeah. If everyone is of the same race, racism will finally be gone.
The definitive example, it's like, for those who remember The Incredibles, it's when everyone's super, no one is.
Yep.
Well, the idea.
Oh, and
it's like we just need to
the same philosophy at the very least.
Well, the idea of having a Genosha-like state or a segregated area, that's pretty prevalent in anime. I think the most well-known I know is the Dance in the Vampire Bund, which is a manga. I think it's an anime. I don't know if it is, but there's a manga for sure about the idea of a vampire princess coming out after thousands of years and saying, we are here, hello humanity, we control you, but we're going to be nice about it, and we're going to live in this city that's public now. It's called the Bund, and vampires and humans can live there together, and there's police states and this and that, but it's all technologically advanced and all kinds of cool
vampire
stuff.
Bund.
The Bund, B-U-N-D.
The Bund.
Yeah, and actually,
the vampire Bund.
What's even more so is the city is more run by this guy who runs a medical corporation who is studying them, because he's their major benefactor.
Ooh.
Yep.
So like the main,
it's a trap.
Yeah, the main area of the city is a hospital, which this coming out last year or the year before is
last year. Yes.
It's like, oh gosh. Also, Wisp. Trigger has made a couple Super Sentai style shows.
Ooh.
One is called, yes, it's 4 S's, SSS Gridman and SSS Dynazenon.
Oh, Gridman, jeez.
Well, what I actually mean is like them doing an anime with an actual Super Sentai team, like an official Super Sentai anime under Toei.
Oh, well,
that's what I meant.
That's what Gridman was. Gridman was the Sentai series that the company moved to doing anime for this one.
It's pretty wild.
You know what? Like
Oh, it used to be in full rubber. It was called the super samurai super squad, I think is what it was in English, which is why it's the SSSS.
Oh, Samurai
first
Super.
part?
Oh my god, that fucking
You remember
show.
with Tim Curry as the villain? Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, and,
that was one of the many Power Rangers ripoffs back then, for the record.
well, in America, yes, but it is a
It's
direct
American,
sequel.
American.
Yeah, SSS Gridman is a direct sequel to that show. Same way, and then Dynazenon is a sequel to Gridman, and then there's a third series coming out next year.
Okay, it's like well, I meant more specifically like a pre-existent Sentai team having an anime made by Trigger.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think Toei would do that because they make for as much as.
Well, then again, yeah, they have Toei Animation, which could probably do it, but.
Yeah, but as much as like here in the States, Power Rangers doesn't make shoestring budget. In Japan, it's really not. It's just here in the States, it's on a shoestring budget.
Well, given Hasbro's enthusiasm to make Power Rangers mainstream again, I think that's about to change.
Yeah, the last series was more of a love letter to Power Rangers than the actual anniversary series that they.
Oh yeah, and that's a step in the right direction for that.
They ruined the Pirate season, which was one of probably what could have been the best crossover season they ever did, and they ruined it.
Ironically, Gokaiger being one of the best Sentais in recent years ended up being adapted into the worst season of Power Rangers.
Have you seen Pata Ranger versus Lupin Ranger?
Lupat? That's like, no, I've seen barely anything of that.
It's literally just Persona 5. Like, the whole same theme. I love it. It's amazing.
It's basically Persona 5 as a Sentai, pretty much.
Yes, it is. I love it.
Well, half a Sentai, because it's 2 teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yeah.
Anyway.
Go back to DNA, finally.
Oh, and Wisp also, yes. Furries love this show. I can attest to that.
Yeah, indeed.
I don't get many quality stuff. On outside.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
On official media.
You know, like all the characters in this show are well written. Like they're actually they're good. Like they all have good personalities or bad personalities when it's warranted.
And I suspect it's not just about fucking all the time.
No,
as on Fur Affinity.
No, there's
actually, to go back to like the whole thing about like a separate group of like animal-based beings. There was to go back to Sentai. Sentai literally had that. I think it was like Zero-Oger, which literally that's like the most recent animal-themed Sentai. They had literally an entire like species of animal-based beings. Like basically the Sentai equivalent of Wakanda. Like a centuries-old civilization just hiding at some undisclosed location on Earth for centuries.
Yeah, I mean, like, in Final Fantasy XIV, you have the beast races, which are only labeled beast races because
And 11 to an extent.
Yeah, but no, the only reason they're called beast races is because the city-state of Ul'dah, which is run by Lalafell, which are little short people, which this idiot would call child-colored, but I can link a video in stream memes later, Smud, Wisp, which even you go, no, because it's a character
I played Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah, in 14.
Yeah, so both of those. Both of those.
The equivalent of the what are they called? The Popotos in 11?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a long time ago. It's like some time after the release I played, and then not for long, but I played some.
Yeah, the dwarf race. The money-grubbing...
money-grubbing little people.
Yeah, they're
well, not Mughals.
The Mughals are their own weirdest in 14, but they called them beast races because they didn't want the common people trading with them.
Yeah, well, they are. They have these little cute animal noses and the cute little ears sticking out of their giant hats.
Oh, the Mughals are fun in 14.
Well, the point is to go back to the videos. Like things as recent as Zero-Oger and Final Fantasy XIV have had that idea of a massive group of animal-based life forms so close to the rest of the world, and yet those two didn't go to the extent that BNA did in terms of like the societal structure of it.
Yeah, and once again, in BNA, within the setting of the world, it is a mutual agreed. Japan and the Beast race, the Beast people, agreed to build this city. It's not like Japan just said you are all going here, you have no say, or the Beast people said we are moving here because we claim let's say no. They all agreed to. I think it's not even on the like mainland of Japan. No, it is. It's in a giant lake on the mainland in Japan.
This is BNA is basically. Well, BNA is basically the middle ground between Final Fantasy XIV and Zoodra, and Zoodra just in complete hiding for centuries. In Final Fantasy XIV, they just coexist with very little, if any, issues between them.
Yeah, like in 14, there's Hrothgar, which my profile is one, and they're a full beast race in the game.
Here's a big difference between.
Yeah, they're just there. There's not really any tension because everyone just minds their own business.
Yeah, and with the exception of the Garleans in the game, there's no tensions between races in that game. It's hilarious, and they've existed. The races have existed for.
I just noticed this argument is
millennia.
crap. This argument is crap because we have three variants of a similar situation, which is the BNA that you explained is a mutual thing. Like here, we give this new type of people that have this condition a place so that everyone can be safe. The humans can be safe, the animal people can be safe.
Yeah.
So that's completely new. Like it's essentially donation of land.
Yes.
And it's mutual because this is a high level society here with the skyscrapers and high tech and all of that. It's all there.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not an internment camp.
Yeah, it's set in modern day.
Yeah. So this is a positive version. Then we have the most negative version, which would be in this bullshit fan fiction Korra of the sequel to the alleged sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's a sequel, unfortunately.
Where they built this Republic City thing.
I mean, it's a sequel
in the Earth Nation.
Well, to be fair,
and
I will grant them this. It was land that was given by the previous king of the Earth Nation. The current one is just being a bitch about it in the show.
Yeah,
I will grant that it was
considering what this Republic City is doing. I could understand that even.
It was land that was granted to the Avatar Aang at the time by the current king.
Remind me, wasn't Republic City built where Ba Sing Se used to be, or am I misremembering?
No, Ba Sing Se is more inland.
Yeah,
Ba Sing Se is inland.
Is it still around by the time of Korra?
Yes, because remember, they go and you actually see the villain of the third season, who becomes an airbender, choke out the current queen. Yeah.
It's just very few time spent there.
I will grant them. Yeah. It made people realize how scary airbenders actually are by doing that. Because you don't think like, oh right, they made bloodbenders scary in original Alpha.
Technically, if you can do that as an airbender, it's the thing. If you can do that as an airbender, the bloodbending is just a pointless scare tactic because a waterbender could just bend the water out of your cells.
That's true, but it's the case. Yeah, people don't you don't think about that until it's shown. Like, oh, you're right. Airbenders are probably the scariest of the four.
In my honest opinion, that's one of the few things Korra did legitimately right that the original series should have done right off the bat, which is show that the airbenders are pretty much, at least in my opinion, the most dangerous of the four.
There's a reason why they are peaceful nomads.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to kill. That's why he doesn't use things like that.
Exactly. That's why initially he didn't want to use firebending. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was because he had hurt Korra.
The thing I wanted to say about Republic City looks like a parasitizing city that just in the end culturally destroys the whole world.
Yes.
and builds armies and all of that other shit. Like that, I don't think that the last emperor of the Earth Nation did imagine it coming to that. So the current emperor of the Earth Nation, I'd say she's justifiably scared of Republic City with all these mecha weapons of war walking around and all of that.
All right, guys, let's stop.
But I'm getting off topic. I wanted to bring up the third thing, which is his point, which is this is an allegory to Israel. Israel has a historic claim. It's a very old claim, but it has a historic claim.
It's also
it's people who were driven out of their home country.
Israel's not the first time where we've, created a new state for a small group of people.
Yeah.
In the history of the world, like that are not the only ones. They're just the most recent.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them.
All right.
And the whole reason that the medical, that, like the hospital set up in Anima City, is to research to try to help the Beastmen to
Beast folk, yes,
to not completely freak out when they get stressed. Like they show in the first 2 episodes that Beastmen getting into fights generally isn't frowned upon because it makes sure that they get their aggression out.
All right.
Like they'll just get into arguments over dumb things.
Let's finally get back to the.
Here is Venom Snake. Greetings from Poland, guys. That's a $2.59 donation. That's interesting. Thank you, sir. I've never watched anime.
Hello there.
Which series do you recommend? All right, guys. Without saying more than the actual title of the anime, what series would you recommend to a person who's never watched anime?
Oh God.
Well, Alex Halo. I guess he
no.
isn't, yeah, so.
Yeah, Alex would just say Fate. No. Oh God.
As much of a cop out as I'm going to sound right now, Dragon Ball. Without a doubt.
That's fair.
The original maybe, but it's a funny child thing.
The original,
I would rather go with.
If you like it, go with Z.
I would rather go with start with. Depending on your tastes, I would say start with actual movies instead of a series. And there I would just say go with some of the more serious Ghibli movies. Grave of the Fireflies or Laputa, Castle in the Sky. Those are good entries into the animation style and story and type of storytelling that good anime goes into.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Yeah.
Full Metal Alchemist, either the original or Brotherhood, both. I'd say.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
And Mark, what did you say? Porco Rosso?
Isn't that like a Ghibli movie as well?
Yes, it is.
Porco Rosso is a Ghibli movie, but I'm not a fan.
It's the pig pilot set in Italy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And no, Mike Testa, Evangelion is not a good introductory animation.
No.
No.
20 years ago, I would have said otherwise, but now I agree.
So
that should be your last.
The last before you die.
When the creator of the show constantly changes it because the fans try to come up with some rationalization for the ending of his insanity.
Ava is basically anime expert mode.
Anyway, my recommendation is XL Saga. Thank you very much for your ideas.
Oh God, your first one? No.
Let's continue.
That's a genre ripper.
Let's continue. Okay, let's go.
Look at the chat. There are some good examples in the chat.
Racial trait is just it's something that fascists do. The villain Aryan dude with the whitest name imaginable is trying to cause a citywide outbreak, basically race-baiting the beastfolk into a massive riot, so he can indiscriminately apply his concoction that cures the beastfolk and turns them into regular humans. In this way, he ostensibly aims to finally solve the beastfolk problem. Yes, he literally phrases it that way. And also, beastfolk are shown to have been experimented on in Nazi concentration camps. Holy shit, this isn't even a metaphor anymore, it's just being the thing.
Yes,
what do you think Nazis would do?
This was also during World War II.
World War II happens in this anime?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
What the hell do you think?
Like I said, this was set. The only difference in the world is that beastmen exist. Everything else basically is the same.
Everything else happens, yes.
Okay. So if you have the normal history and you have actual Nazis like we had in our history, what do you think they would do with Beastmen? They're so far from their Aryan supremacy bullshit fanfiction of humanity, and they have something to experiment on. Nazis love to make human experiments, and this is just, especially on what they considered subhuman, and what could they consider more subhuman than animal people?
Yeah,
why are you surprised?
In the world of BNA, if you think the Jews got it bad, oh.
Because I don't remember if Beastmen exist outside of Japan. I think it's a Japan only thing.
It was, yeah, but Japan still had a big stake in the war, regardless.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to remember. No. Actually, no. It is because Shu and the main villain are from like the Middle East or like Turkey or like that area of the world. Or like Greece or something, like because the art style that's shown during their backstory is very like ancient Roman or ancient Greece or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, and also he leaves out the fact that the villain is a Beastman as well. So
you might mention it later, just as a double twist.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's
syndrome apparently activates when there's a lot of beast folk cramped together in one place, as their territorial instincts override their cognitive capabilities. Although, it bears mentioning, this theory is put forward by the resident fascist of the story, so the veracity of it should be questioned. It sounds reasonable.
Man, the fashion industry must make money like mad.
That's the going ballistic. And the reason why he knows why this happens is because he was there when it first started happening to his people 1,000 years ago. So he knows exactly what triggers it.
Yeah, but it's just
it's not like
they have to buy new clothes every time.
This is like a very rare thing that happens. So up until this point, where the entire city goes ballistic, but he's been orchestrating this the entire time too, because he wants this to happen. Yeah, he does. That's.
What's with the point that guy's making? What point is the guy making? Because I'm lost now.
The
guy who makes the video.
His plan is making sense. He's trying to say the villain, trying to round them up all together to have them initiate some sort of response due to their proximity, is reasonable or makes sense. It's like, that's fine. Yes, I think villains' plans should make sense. That's good.
Yeah. So building the whole Anima City was a trap to facilitate his plan, but the rest of humanity didn't know about that this would backfire.
Yes, because this knowledge had been lost to time.
It's a classic thing. Classic idea.
Given our nation to presuppose things about the beast folk, but when you start asking questions, it breaks down. Anima City has existed for 20 years now, and Sylvasta has to seriously go out of his way to instigate the riot. So it seems less like a biological fact about the beastfolk, and more like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, of course if you put a lot of oppressed people in a small space with subpar living conditions, they're gonna get stressed out.
What? This looks like sci-fi heaven.
The syndrome really doesn't change anything. It's also never made clear, but it is implied that Sylvasta and his goons had to use some form of biological warfare to worsen the syndrome. So again, the idea that beastfolk are just hardwired to go apeshit is disputable. And you'd think that he's just...
It's not disputable because they say directly in the show, and the show with the main character, that she won't go berserk.
Are you when you live in that city, is it an oppressed lifestyle, or is it a normal kind of lifestyle?
No, it's just any major sort of stress will trigger that.
No, I mean the life. He says the oppressed people in the city. In order to be oppressed, that would manifest in how you live, how you feel all the time. If you live in that city, is that any different from living in Tokyo, in New York, in Berlin?
Or in Anima City, they can, after dark, during the day, they purposely stay in their human forms to try to be polite to the human visitors that come through. But at night, they're free to be their animal selves. And during festivals, like, they don't have to hide
Yeah, raves.
Okay, but that still doesn't tell me anything about their lifestyle.
Well, if they can have
What's the
public
quality of
festivals-
life in that city?
Yeah, if they can have
Very
public
high.
festivals, it's pretty good. So
Yeah,
they're not oppressed at all.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Other than there's some shenanigans going on with the Japanese government because of this guy, but up for the last 20 years up until this like time period where the show takes place, the Anima City was openly saying, "Come here, you can be yourself here and be fine."
That doesn't sound very oppressive.
Yeah, no, it's
That's the point. Isn't that kind of the point?
yeah. That was the whole promise of. And once this whole thing is over, they go back to trying to make that a possibility where they don't.
If you would be oppressed in that place, like an internment camp, why would you want to go there?
Yeah, and the animal people are free to leave to an extent.
It's why
But then
Australia
they're-
calls the unvaccinated camps now wellness camps that they're building.
oh
Yeah.
god.
That's some euphemism from hell.
Anyway.
Yeah, wellness camps. Like, what the fuck is
Well,
wrong?
we're going to be getting a passport
what the
pretty soon in
fuck?
Canada, so yeah.
That's a Futurama joke. Don't you remember when
Oh, is it?
well yes, when it's Zoidberg sends Hermes, it's the bureaucrat episode where he gets demoted and they get the new bureaucrat in Atlantic Express, the one that has the hots for fry. And he gets sent to the wellness camp, which is just a slave labor camp, and then he gets the entire thing running with he gets it so efficient that it's all run by all the manual labor is done by one Australian dude.
Oh yeah, what the fuck?
And then he comes back in and at the very end and then does like the whole song and dance and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness, Australia is literally just turned into a Futurama joke. Good lord.
Yeah, well, it'll happen
Oh, you
in
have
many
no
other
idea.
places too.
Oh
sadly.
yeah.
Because people are not getting their asses up.
It was
They
Australia.
think someone else will rescue them. No, it's not going to happen. You have to do it.
Bitch, no, that's not how life works.
Whoever you are the one who has to start. Because most people will not start, but they will follow. Leaders are rare. Natural leaders are very rare. That's all.
Okay, well let's see where else this crazy person takes it.
Crazy person.
Is doing it. The fascist, right? I mean, yes, but here's the twist. He's actually a beast person too. A
Okay,
special kind
he
of
acknowledged
beast.
That's
it.
not
pureblood
it's also
scion
not a
of
new
ancient
twist that's
family
been
line.
it's
The
been done
reason
so
he's
often.
trying to destroy the city and turn the beast folk into regular humans is
He's
because
a
he considers
scion
the hybrid beast folk
person.
impure. He wants to return to the good old days when the beast folk controlled humanity from the shadows. And of course, what he actually means by that is an imagined Prelapsarian era when a small fraction of beast folk enjoyed a position of power and privilege in society, while all the others were discriminated against. You know, because he's a fascist. Did I make that?
You know, that sounds a lot like
So-
BLM.
And the Illuminati.
Yeah. Oh, we're all oppressed here. We're all oppressed, and all you hear is that they just want to be in power themselves and oppress everyone else. Because that's usually what you have with fanatic groups.
By the way, I've missed some super chats here from LiteratureDevil. Hey, Hail Smud. Hail.
Hail.
Heil Smud.
Well, it means the same thing. Really? It's also something people don't know.
Yeah. And Strawman, summed, my boy, this anime is about the dangers of furries, and we all know
My boy.
Boca no Pico is groundbreaking.
Oh, let's never bring that up again.
It did break new ground, yeah.
We never
Okay.
bring it up again.
7 minutes, 40 seconds.
That one. Sylvester claims that the pure beast folk are immune to the universal syndrome. He thinks that it is a result of beast folk interbreeding with each other for generations, leading to a genetic decline of sorts. Of course, he's wrong. As we find out during the final confrontation between him and
Spoilers!
Shiro, he's just as susceptible to universal syndrome as anybody else. Because of course he is! That was a dumb theory made up by a fascist to justify a genocidal ideology. But here is a fun fact. You know who actually is
Just as the stuff we see today from socialists, where they make up bullshit race theories and bullshit sex or gender theories, as they call it. That's all just bullshit that will just break down any alleged utopian society that they're trying to build if they get into the power they want to.
Also,
So that's the
reason
same
why
bullshit.
More like gender theory.
Don't
more like
trust
stupid
these
theory.
mad people, wherever
reason-
they come from.
the reason why he would never have been affected by the syndrome is because you have to be put under a lot of stress. This guy has been wealthy in power his entire life for thousands of years.
After,
Like, not kidding. The only reason he gets stressed is because Shiro starts beating him right at the end. And Shiro shows the same.
Waiting millennia for just the right moment.
Yeah, he starts to show the same powers that he has, so he gets very annoyed and very upset. That's what triggers it, because he's never been pushed to that stress point, so he would never have seen that register in him.
So the bitch pulled the Dragon Ball.
Yes.
Z, Dragon Ball Z, I meant.
And even if he tried to force that on himself, you really can't do that because it's not a thing you can do. You can't induce stress to yourself, like the type of stress that's required for that thing to trigger. Just because mentally it's.
Yeah, he can do some stress, but it wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Clearly.
All right.
At worst, he'd be mildly annoyed.
Yes.
Well, this is a failing of the villain. You always have to have some failing of the villain. As much as they appear to be super powerful and all-knowing and ancient and yada yada, you got to give them a weakness. And hubris is usually the one, so that's pretty common.
I mean, would it have been better or worse if he had anticipated something like that to activated in him all along?
Well, this is something he should have figured out thousands of years ago.
Yeah, it would have been better because he is a very intelligent. He's not stupid.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent. This is just for some reason it's the one idiot ball he caught there where he didn't plan.
Yeah, it would have definitely been better for it to be intentional, so that if someone did come along and try and kick his ass for doing all this.
He could have.
Yeah, it would backfire on them.
He could have turned into
because he would transform anyway.
The giant wolf and gone for a run and see how much stress that would build up in him. Like, just keep running. See if your theory's right.
Exactly. Yeah, it would have been better if that was part of his plan. If someone did come along and actually end up beating him, it'd be a double whammy on the other person because he would transform anyway.
Yeah, there's probably.
He's also the only one that's shown to be I am the purebred. Literally, he's the only one.
I mean, that does make sense.
There's no other people that act like him and claim only the purebred should be in charge.
Yeah, there's no one else to claim any kind of right to this.
Yeah, he's working with the human Japanese government to get rid of the beastmen. But
at least the hybrids.
Yes, which he sees pretty much every other beastman out there as hybrids. He doesn't explain who he thinks are the purebreds. He just says that all the ones in Anima City that go berserk are hybrids.
And we just see it play out from there.
Yes. It's not like a fascist government or a Nazi government where it's now he has cronies that follow and listen to everything he says. But they don't. But as far as we're aware, they don't believe that only the pure should be in charge.
Well, the parallel to that is that the Nazis did have their genealogy IDs, where where you had to prove that you were not tainted by Jewish ancestry. And the joke about that is, because this is not just a trope that's used for these kinds of villain plots, where the villain is part of the actual thing that he claims to be fighting against or trying to destroy or whatever. Hitler is said to have had Jewish ancestry, which is why his Aryan passport was not requested in his last second marriage with Eva Braun. That's a scene that was played out in Der Untergang, the Downfall. That has what was that, witness accounts or something? Oh, not from my English is failing me right now. But yeah, this is which is also similar to some other many socialists, not whether brown or red, who turned very anti-Semitic and had their own hatred for the Jews in general, were in fact Jews themselves or had Jewish ancestry, and many of them changed their names.
Yes, the irony.
Yeah. Trotsky and Lenin, and I think even Stalin as well, all had more Jewish names before they changed their names. But don't ask. You can look them up. One of them might not be, but I can't recall which one it wasn't.
I know
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure
pretty
that
sure
Lenin
about
and
Stalin
Stalin
and
did change
Trotsky.
their names.
Trotsky definitely. Trotsky definitely, but I can't recall. I have to look deeper into Trotsky at some point, because what we're mainly dealing with all the time is Trotskyist strategies. I can't recall how anti-Semitic he was, but he was definitely of Jewish ancestry. He had a Jewish name before he called himself Trotsky, which is and that's the joke is that when you bring that up, the left wants to call you anti-Semitic for it, when in reality it's hiding actual anti-Semitism, because it's the literal self-hating Jew. And those do exist in Israel as well. There are Jews in Israel who want to destroy Israel.
Okay.
It's just a proper
That is
common insanity.
It's a very sad truth.
The good thing is those people never get into power; they just get pointed and laughed at. So,
As they should.
Anyway, let's continue.
Is immune to the syndrome? Michiro. The final kicker here is that Michiro's DNA has special healing properties and can stabilize the people overtaken with Universal syndrome. And why? Because she's a genetic freak. Her transformation is a result of a mix-up caused by Sylvester, where she was transfused with special beastfolk blood. She's the ultimate beastfolk hybrid, essentially containing the genetic markers of all beastfolk breeds. The funny thing is that when Sylvester hears about this, his response is, "Oh, that's interesting. Didn't see that one coming. Oh well, time to go back to doing fascism," and goes ahead with his plan anyway. Because, of course he does. It was never actually about helping beastfolk or making society a little better for anybody, except himself, and even then by proxy, by making the lives of everybody else more miserable.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't even consider that this might...
How are they
Sorry.
miserable?
I was going to say, it's like, that doesn't... retard, that doesn't mean she isn't the linchpin to stopping your plans.
Like
he just thinks that he thinks that there's nothing she can do at that point in time.
Well, yeah, but he's providing a sanctuary for these folks, which is a trap. But in the meantime, 99% of the time, it's a nice place to live for these people. They're free to
up until this,
until the end.
Until this one night where he kicks his plan off for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, give it 15 years, because they had to build the city.
Yeah.
But for the last 15 years, they were doing relatively fine outside of a few human terrorists coming in and causing problems right at the beginning. But at this point in time, they've got relative peace.
Yeah, it's a pretty elaborate plan for something he doesn't know quite sure how it works, which is bizarre. You think
and even the blood transfusion happening, it was a bureaucratic mix-up from the company, because what happened is Chichiro and her friend got into a car accident, and they got blood transfusions. The blood transfusions were Beastman blood. They got mixed up in the hospital system. That's how they got their abilities. That's the Tanuki and the
main
fox
character,
friend.
right?
Yes, the Tanuki and the white fox. They were both originally just normal humans who got transfused with Beastman blood by accident because of a mix-up. and so he didn't plan for them to have that.
And yet one of them ended up being like the second coming of Beastman Jesus.
Well, they're held up. She's just a false prophet, like an idol. She's not like a, and she knows that she's an idol. She knows that she's fake. She's playing it up because she wanted to be an idol in Japan. And after her accident, she couldn't dance anymore, so she gave up. So she just about had to give up on that. And then this happened where the religious cult gave her basically what she wanted. So.
Okay, moving on.
Let's go.
Be a solution. The thought that Michiro's impure blood could solve anything isn't even a possibility in his mind. So let's break down exactly what happened here. A discriminated against ethnic and religious minority has faced a veritable genocide. They are then given a state inside the borders of a sovereign nation by unjustified political fiat, which is supposed to be only for them and nobody else. That state...
I'm not sure what unjustified political fiat represents or means, but fine. If so long as what?
The city was built in the middle of a lake, like a giant lake.
So long as
there's no humans were living there.
So long as they're left alone, which is the whole purpose, then that's fine. Who cares what others think about it? It's like, yeah, we don't recognize you as a city-state. It's like, are you going to leave us alone? Yes. Then who cares?
Yeah. Then goodbye forever.
Yeah.
And these, for all intents and purposes, the people that are coming here are Japanese. Like, they were born in Japan. They are nationally they are Japanese. So him saying that, it's not like people from outside of Japan are moving there.
It's pretty much
Anima
everyone.
City is for Japanese beastmen.
Yeah, that's totally fine. We're not here to
Yeah, no, I'm just like pointing out like his thoroughfare here is not correct because it falls flat before it gets out the gate.
Yeah, I'm not here to clearly this is a worldwide event. This should involve everyone. It's like, that's fine. You can keep it all within one area. We're not here to throw our questions out the door and go, oh yeah, no, this is impossible. Where's everyone else? Like, we don't care. It's fine. Go with the fiction. See how it plays out. What's the point? What's the point of all this secrecy and building a city-state and doing all this stuff? What's the function? So, okay, we can run with that idea.
As you can imagine, has some serious issues, and the friction between the ethnic groups hasn't been amended in any way. If anything, it was exasperated. And then a blood purity obsessed nitwit with a lot of money and power comes along and decides that even this is not pure enough for him. What I'm saying is, Anima City is Israel, and the problems it's facing as a nation are directly caused by its ethnocentric nature. Much has already been said about the exclusionary nature of fascist ideologies.
Wait a second. So you're equating fascism with Israel?
Really?
Yes, because this is the idiot that is on Palestine that believes that Israel is the aggressor in the Israel-Palestine issue. He's one of those people. Even though Israel, in every instance, has backed away and ceded land to them. The only time they respond is when Palestine, 2 months ago when they were just raiding, when Palestine was raining hellfire. For 72 hours straight, and then Israel finally said enough of that, and they sent in pinpoint strike teams to take out the
sources,
the missile arrays, rather than just nuking Palestine, which they had every right to do. Because when you're raiding hellfire down, it's like it'd be the equivalent if Mexico was raining hellfire down on Texas for 3 days straight.
Yeah, it's just that so little happened because they have a missile defense system.
Yes, and it only stops 90%. It's some did get through. That was the whole point, which is very
And the moment Israel fired back, the left jumped up and said, "Oh, evil Israel! They are hurting the poor Palestinians." Like, dude.
No,
dude.
Israel,
it's like getting
Israel are the ones within their rights.
Yeah, it's like getting beaten up by the schoolyard bully, and the teacher is looking away all the time. The teacher knows what's going on, but the teacher is deliberately looking away. But the moment you throw one punch back, because you try to get the bully off of you so that you can get up again, the teacher looks to you and says, "How dare you hit the other child?" And as much as you can criticize Israel's expansion policy as much as you want, you forget what the left completely ignores is, because they're ignoring the memo. It's not that they didn't get the memo, it's that they're ignoring it. That the kind of Islam that is present in that area is completely on the rails of the very literal, very hard interpretation of the Quran that says they need to eradicate the Jews. They want to genocide the Jews. They don't just want to destroy Israel. They're not just mad because the Jews are on our land now that we forcefully took from them a long time ago, because Islam solely expanded by conquest. And forget that. This is an expansionist, imperialist religion. And
above all stupid.
And part of their doctrine is Jews bad, Jews root of all evil, so they need to be destroyed. You cannot find a peaceful solution with this kind of Islam. There are less extreme brands of Islam, but they are minorities. Within Islam, when the West talks about moderate Islam, what we think moderate would be something in alignment with our values and our understanding of humanism, maybe human rights and stuff like that. That is what we would consider moderate.
Basically, we need.
However,
Islam needs to get to the point where Christianity is right now.
That's not going to happen. It won't. It would require reforms that are almost impossible in Islam.
If you want to reform it, then you get hanged or something.
And the problem is, what Islam thinks to be moderate Islam is the actual, by quantity, middle point of Islam, which we would consider, by our values, as horrible, oppressive, inhumane, monstrous, fascist, genocidal in every way. We would consider that extremism. What we should do as the West is support the absolute minority branches of Islam that we would consider moderate by our standards. But those are the you could say those are the oppressed branches of Islam by the extreme Islamists.
Well,
that's the whole problem.
Let's not get into whole political, religious. This is not why we're here.
Well, it's hard not to get into it if we're talking about the whole Israel thing because of the dude here.
Well, yeah, making a
who seems to be happy about shitting on Israel.
Yeah, that's weird.
This whole video is a super difficult topic. This whole video is just a pretense to crap on Israel. And he's talking about something he has no idea what he's talking about. He just listens to CNN.
This is
it sounds like the standard uninformed leftist virtue position of Israel bad for oppressing the poor Palestinians who did no wrong.
Yeah, this is not an area of expertise. It's also a topic I don't like talking about. It's
a clusterfuck.
Yeah,
the real Israel-Palestine issue is a clusterfuck, and there is no purely good position to have in this. Once you can accept that, then you can start analyzing the situation, going back through history, and you have to go back through millennia, and then you can start forming an opinion on the whole issue. However, you are probably not gonna like the conclusion you will come to if you go at this in a neutral fashion, because, as I said, there is no purely good position to hold in this whole thing. There is no utopia in Israel and Palestine.
All right.
During the time of their relative decline, they broadened the scope of what counts as pure expression of their given ethnicity, like how the Irish became white, but are very quick to exclude the same groups, one by one, as soon as the ideologies achieve a modicum of influence, like how the Irish are no longer considered white. Again,
By whom?
importantly, no amount of racial purity is...
What? By whom?
Just Sargon, but he's just joking about that.
Yeah. You know, the Slavs aren't considered white by the SJWs because they have a hard time integrating into the United States because their first language isn't English.
Oh god.
By that logic, I am not white. As a German.
Yes, but these are also
there's like
these are also
50
the same people who, like,
Go ahead.
I've never met a normal person outside of the internet, or even on the internet, who cares when someone can't speak English properly. Like, we try to help. Like, it's always try to help, try to understand. Like,
Yeah, like a lot of
we'll
Americans.
ask
They can't speak proper English. It's just horrible.
we'll ask, even here in America, we'll ask someone to repeat themselves if we don't understand what they're saying, but not because so we can answer whatever it is they're saying. But then the left will just go like, well, they just should speak English because ours is better, or our own stupid version of English.
Mm-hmm.
It's always I've never encountered a normal person who is like this caricature they keep claiming where they hate you if you don't speak English. It's like,
Yeah, I think that's a
the US
complete
doesn't
straw
even
man.
have an official language, does it?
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We speak primarily English, but we have
Well,
no
but
official language.
You must have an official formal language you use in government.
Technically, it would be British English or American English, but it's because there's slight differences between the two. But it's basically, it's just basically British English.
Yeah, but it's English. It's not
Yes.
Pidgin.
No. And then Spanish is the second most spoken language, just because of immigration. But
Yeah. I remember there was a time when there was a decision in Congress or something, and it would have almost been German as official language in U.S. government because there was a big German population at the time.
that probably had to have been, before the Revolutionary War. That would have happened.
Oh yeah, I think it was before World War One, way before.
Yeah.
But don't ask me about years.
But yeah, like there's like 51 million immigrants in the US.
At best
I might
guess.
be wrong.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I
because
doubt all of them are just native English speakers.
Yeah, no.
Mhm.
Yeah, you need a lingua franca in your country, or it will just divide naturally. Like and by the way, it's the same with German. By the way, nobody speaks actual High German. That is the official thing we use in writing. Nobody speaks. That's the closest to come to that are the people from Thüringen, it's the central Germany. But you have so many dialects, and some there's even the grammar switched around, and or they say instead of wir, they say mir, which is in High German my instead of we. It's like there are pockets in Germany where they speak something that is almost a different language, but you can still make out the German in it. And that is true for the other Germanic countries as well. But yeah, like the British English, the Queen's English, barely anyone really speaks that, but we use it to not have a Babylon effect, where everybody just turns into different languages and we don't know how to talk with each other anymore.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that there's no one speaking the literal American English and no one speaking the literal British English, because it's just so that we within the sphere of this language can communicate with each other.
Also,
Those languages just naturally drift.
I'm curious how he's trying to come to the conclusion that an ethnostate suddenly causes, or the result of an ethnostate is genocide of the ethnostate, when all these characters in the story are diverse animal origin and transformation. So I don't know, just because of that nature, therefore they're different species, and thus that's ethnic? I don't know. Or racial. I'm not sure.
Well, it's
the left doesn't know how to differentiate between race, ethnicity, culture. They switch these. They're interchangeable terms for these people.
Well, in BNA, it's weird because there are couples that are interspecies, and they can still have children, but they don't come out as like mixed breeds unless it's within like the same species. So like there's a couple that Chihiro, the main character, stays with, a rooster and a pig, if I remember correctly. I can't remember what the wife is. They're not shown to have any children, but there's multiple times where you see couples that are different species, but they're all the Beastmen race. So it seems like the race, like as a whole, they can have families. Doesn't matter. It's just when they have children, it's either the mother's species or the father's species. So it's not like they're being their species doesn't affect the race, if that makes sense. Because the race is the Beastmen race, or the Beast race.
All right, let's go.
Ever going to satisfy a fascist because the idea itself is vacuous. It's a means of building your identity by contrasting it with that which you are not. You can be as sure as day that when there are two fascists left on the planet, they'll both consider each other impure. BNA acknowledges this reality fully. In the end, the mayor of Anima City realizes that building a state just for the beast folk was a mistake. As people, as a community connected by traditions, a religion and blood ties, they have the right to be who they are. Forcing them to become human would be abhorrent. But trying to seclude themselves from other groups is going to destroy them, and that destruction may not even come from without, but from within.
Okay, so he's conflating the concept of what, as in racial purity, against who, meaning who you want to be in life, or what you want to do in life. That's very clear distinction when you're allowed freedom in this city to, live your life any way you want. And then the guy...
And it's optional, and it's also optional to go to Anima City.
Yeah. No one's forcing you to do anything. No one's actively trying to round you up in a pen and keeping you from doing anything.
Because that's irrelevant to his plot.
This is a weird state. I don't think...
And the mayor...
It's even good for his plot, because that draws people to his city.
Was a little girl in World War II.
I thought...
saw her in a lab in a concentration camp where they were inventing on them.
I thought
she wanted... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just referring to fascism, not necessarily being ethno-fascism, but just fascism in general. There's a nationalistic unity, not a ethno-unity. If I can remember...
Yes, but... yes, you are correct. These people lump everything... They see Nazi and they go, okay, so that's the only kind of fascism that can ever possibly be.
Like we're talking
about... They don't know where the word came from and what it actually means.
Well, they go through the German definition, I suppose, but we're talking about the original Italian gentile definition.
Yes, that's exactly my point. They don't understand what the word actually means.
Okay.
They have just equated it with Nazi because they're, a bunch of idiots. Like, that's the best way to describe these people. They don't want to actually understand. They just want to call names.
Plus, I'd like to see the fascist state, let's say Italy in that example, small little country, lots of people, not in wartime. What would they do? Would they keep amassing weapons? I don't think so. I think they'd have other problems to deal with their own country. And they wouldn't need fascism anymore, or they wouldn't need this or that. So I'm kind of curious how he explains fascism in this city, which is peaceful, not attacking anyone, not building weapons, just running this weird sociological experiment.
The most they have to deal with is basically some IRA members. That's basically the most they've had to deal with from within inside. Like, that's literally the closest explanation.
Yeah, I don't see this as a fascist or dictatorial government. It's one guy in charge. Yes, that could be a king, that could be a leader, that could be an oligarchy, that could be all kinds of things. I don't know the story.
Like
Yeah,
technically,
the way it's displayed here, it's only about race, if you will, in case of this condition, but not culturally. When we talk ethnicity, we usually talk culture, while the left only talks race when they say ethnicity. The thing is, and the irony about that is that the left is very hard on what I would call ethnoculturalism. Which sounds a bit weird, as I don't have a better word for it yet. That's mainly the problem. Where if you are part of a specific demographic, of a specific race, of a specific nation, whatever it is, the left says you have to have this specific culture, and you are not allowed to appropriate any culture from outside of yours. That's where they complain about the cultural appropriation. You are not allowed to have any cultural pieces from any other cultures. You're only allowed yours. So they're not drawing the lines between races on the map, as they would say ethno-nationalism is. They draw the lines in the heads of people that if you look a certain way, where we go back to the stereotyping we talked about in the beginning of the stream, when you look a certain way, when you come from a certain background, you have to have, and it's a genetic background, you have to have one specific culture and are not allowed any other. Which you could say is their fascism. And their racism and whatever else. They're just applying it in a different way, but they're applying the same boundaries of you are not allowed to leave the plantation. You're not allowed to leave the walls of the state, and no one else is allowed to come into the state. But the state for them is the culture itself, which is very strange.
All right, so
it's a topic to explore with people who want to talk for 5 hours about exactly that thing.
Well, we got less than 2 minutes,
here.
so I don't know if he's going to keep going about anything relevant.
We'll probably get another 30 seconds, then it'll be like a Patreon plug if he's got one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just power through. I haven't heard
Anima
his point
City
really
is not
yet.
disbanded, because it can't be. Doing that would be unfair to its citizens. But it becomes better by including humans inside of its walls. The solution to the problem caused
Which was
by
always the idea
blood
which was always the idea in the future. Once they got relations between the two groups better, they had always planned to have more humans move to the city. There are humans that already live there. They had always, that was always the plan within the show. It was not like they made it at the last second. They were just trying to get the city itself stable and somewhat self-sufficient to an extent before they brought in another group of people.
Yeah. So I don't understand. I don't understand it, or rather, what I understand from his video right now is that he is saying that Israel is the Nazis, because he's making the fascist argument here all the time that this city is like the Nazis, and Israel is like the city. So Israel is the Nazis.
It's just silly.
It's leftist logic. It's stupid.
To call Israel fascist or ethnostate, it's like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, when's the left going to start talking about Islamofascism?
The fascist state that has open elections every 4 months.
And has Muslims in the government.
Yes, that vote. They have an entire Muslim party in the parliament there.
Yes.
It's one of the larger parties. So stupid.
Fucking idiots.
Even ideology isn't
People know
more
nothing about
purity,
Israel.
it's less purity. This is as true for Israel as it is for any other hypothetical.
It's almost like they have to come around an idea and not a race.
Does he honestly think Israel is pure or something?
He's an idiot.
Like
he knows less about Israel than I do.
It's just a bunch of Jews there or something? Is that all he thinks?
Yes. That's what these people think. That it's just Jewish people there.
Oh God.
There's lots of Palestinians in Israel who are happy to be in Israel because they're glad to be out of the Islamist hellhole.
Yes. It
It's
hasn't
not
had a
because
free-
Israel
it hasn't-
is putting pressure on Palestine. It's because Palestine is an Islamist hellhole.
I just read some super chats from Strawman. Speaking of German, Hogan's Heroes was an inside job? What?
Oh God.
Oh, the German dub of Hogan's Heroes was really good, by the way.
I love that show. That's a fantastic show. If there's any television you want to watch from the past, well, I guess the 60s and 70s, was it?
Oh, that's great.
It's funny stuff.
There are two versions of it. The first one was series, and then that didn't really land, so they made it into a comedy after that.
Yeah, it was gorgeous, hilarious.
Yeah, the comedy of Hogan's Heroes is great.
Here's Strawman again. Human woman, a dog man means she wants labradoodle? Labradoodle.
I don't want to know.
I think that's a mix between a poodle and a Labrador.
It is
He
a
said-
thing, yes.
Yes, but the joke is that she wanted to do the dog.
Oh,
The dog man.
that's a bit different. Okay.
Dude, well,
I said I don't want to know.
Well, now we do.
Labradoodle.
Too late for that.
Anyway, we're almost done, guys. Let's keep going.
Ethnostate. The Jewish community has the right to be Jewish, but an obsession with cultural hegemony spells as much of an
Hegemony or homogeny? What are you talking about?
No, he means hegemony.
Well,
And
Well-
then, please, you fucking idiot, tell me why the Islamists are allowed to spread their oppressive religion and culture into every fucking land on the fucking planet,
I just want to
because that is hegemony.
I want to point out that the closed captioned has homogeneity. What I think that's a word.
Yes, homogeneity is a word.
Not
but he meant
homogeneity.
hegemony.
Hegemony. Yeah.
Hegemony means the German word translation is Vorherrschaft, which means predominant rule.
Oh yeah, no, I get that word he's referring to, but someone
Yeah.
must have spelled it out incorrectly or was auto-translated and got it wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, and this idiot is completely ignoring, and this is what the left is doing. The left is completely defending the predominant and expansionist rule of Islamist oppression.
Right, and this is the orthodox flavor of Islam, not the
Yes.
other flavors which are totally
It's the
cool.
majority flavor. It's not the moderate flavor. The left thinks because it's the majority, it must be the moderate,
Well-
which the Islamists also think, by the way.
It's strange how they're okay with Islam, they're not okay with Christianity or Catholicism or Luther. All the flavors.
Yes, because of the Crusades,
I-
which were a defensive war.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
at
I'm not
least in the
sure.
Don't get me going on the Crusades, my dude.
Well, we're not here to talk
No,
about
it-
politics or
Yeah,
religion.
but it's
Okay.
you see a pattern. They're always excusing the Islamist atrocities in history, past and present.
They always go back to the Crusades as being the reason why they don't like Christianity, and also because Christianity became the primary religion of the world.
Yeah, they never mentioned the Ottoman Empire and what kind of things they did. In
Yeah,
Europe.
they never go back and mention what came before Christianity
Yeah,
exploded.
and they
which
never
there's a reason
mentioned
why it
what would
happened.
be ruling Europe if there had not been a defensive war against Islamization back in the day, which was the First Crusade. Then you would have an oppressive, a woman oppressive pedophile.
You would have
culture here
the
that-
Handmaid's Tale in
Yeah, that's what.
Europe right now.
The left ignores that Handmaid's Tale is not a criticism of the West, but a criticism of Islamist culture. As dull as the book is, the left isn't even properly attributing it to what the author meant to criticize with it.
I'm pretty sure the author also meant to criticize Christianity, but these people also think that
It was
Christianity
mainly-
is in the
Yeah,
same place it was during
Yeah. Orthodox Christianity is
when
still
it
pretty
clearly
close to
fucking
that.
isn't.
Yes, these people think that Christianity is in the same spot it was when the Pilgrims first came to America. Like they think it's at that point still, when it's not.
Mhm.
When it's clearly fucking not.
Mhm.
Yes.
And they are only for Islam because it is against Christianity, which they see as the great evil. They're not looking into what Islam majorly really is. And it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter what you believe is in the holy book of that religion. It also doesn't matter what you believe is in the holy book of Christianity. What matters is how the people, the majority, and the dominant part of that religion is enacting what they believe is in it. Doesn't matter what you believe is in it. You can think that all Muslims are wrong about the oppression of women. Doesn't matter that the majority of Islams think the oppression of women is a totally cool thing to do. Because that's what you are dealing with. You're not dealing with the interpretations. Doesn't matter whether you feel good about yourself and saying, oh, but that's not actual Islam. Because that way you just excuse the Islamists. And you tell us that, oh, that's not actual Islam. Yes, sorry. It's the vast majority of Islam doing that. It doesn't matter what you believe it really is. It believes what is the lived religion. The lived religion is pretty shit.
Another reason.
The lived religion is what you should be opposed, for fuck's sake.
Another reason to hate the current U.S. government. They just, the Department of Defense ordered all military dogs be left behind in Afghanistan.
Why? They'll just be tortured and killed. They'll be burnt alive for fun. Islam. There are a couple of things. Pigs and dogs are the lowest creatures in Islamic faith. They're absolute trash. That's why an Islamist will go bonkers mad when you call him a dog or a pig, and that's why it's one of the gravest insults.
I just saw that bring up. It's like, oh my god.
That's the word. Oh god, that's just fuck Biden and his whole administration.
Oh no, when Cuomo in New York got kicked out as governor, if I had a car, I would have driven up there because he apparently left his dog at the governor's mansion. He abandoned him.
Nice guy.
Yeah, like
fuck you.
I would have driven up there and adopted that dog in 2 seconds. I mean, I still had a car.
These people.
Even if you meant that as a joke, fuck you.
So this is the thing, and all you vegans who are so awesome, who are so about the animals are so important. We need to save the planet. Listen closely. The Taliban, the Islamists in general, do not have a value for the sanctity of life, because they have creatures in their doctrine that they think are absolute trash or made of the devil. So that's what entitles them in their minds to do whatever with these creatures. And the Biden administration and all these and a lot of these other Democrat leaders in the United States, so it's probably Republicans as well, but what we see displayed right now, especially, is that these people also have absolutely no regard for the sanctity of life. The Biden administration doesn't even care about its own soldiers, for fuck's sake. Much less dogs.
Alrighty.
And you keep voting for these people.
1 minute and a half. Hopefully, he'll just give us some Skillshare or, I don't know, Patreon links. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hegemony spells much of an impending disaster for it, as it does for the fictional Anima City. The bonds we create ourselves transcend blood, and there is nothing intrinsic about...
Wait, is he saying Anima City is gone because the leader is gone?
I don't know, it's too cut up.
I doubt that very much.
Yeah, you watched the show. Does it actually go away? Like the city just... Everyone
No,
abandoned?
Anima City as in name still exists, and they just open it up to allow humans to come and move
Then what the hell?
permanently.
What the hell is he talking about? Let me go back there.
Spells as much of an impending disaster for it, as it does for the fictional...
It's not what disaster? It recovers from
I have absolutely no idea what this is.
What-
It's just too cut up. I have no
disaster?
idea
They're
what he's
just-
saying.
Yeah, they're perfectly fine the next fucking day.
Yes, because they immediately start vaccinating the rest of the citizens of Anima City with the cure that they create from the two girls' blood, because they are the cure for the Nexus blight or syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
that's crisis has been averted. That's kind of how
Well,
the
yes.
heroes win the day.
So he's just his
Out of complete fucking nowhere, but it's averted.
yeah, no, his final statement here. That's more interesting to talk about. Just
Anima City. The bonds we create ourselves transcend blood, and there is nothing intrinsic about ethnic purity.
so here's something. This is one of these weird, distorted, warped beliefs of the socialists. So bonds that transcend blood. You know, that is a marriage. That's how you start a family, for one. Because the people who start a marriage are usually not blood related. And so that's
Also
number
not this
one.
Stupid.
That's number one. The other thing is, these people seem obsessed with having friends of different races and different cultures. Like they're gathering their rare Pokemon from everywhere. That's what they want to do. The reality is, mature people have already developed that beyond this eye that goes beyond prejudice. Like, you are wary of those who are different, but you give them a chance anyway to prove themselves as not being hostile, not being shrewd, not being any of these negative things. And you do that with people within your own culture. I don't blindly trust other Germans just because they're Germans. There are a lot of assholes out there. So regardless of race or skin color. Point is, in any country, most of your friends, and true friends are very rare, but most of your acquaintances that you are on a neutral or slightly positive relationship status with, will be of your own people. If you are not prejudiced, racist, like, because prejudice is what guides you through life. You develop patterns of recognition of that person seems to employ bad behavior or gives me a bad vibe, so I will ignore that, regardless of race, by the way. So what people who are mature enough to see, the character of a person matters, not what the person looks like, will have one or two friends from a different race or cultural background, because we are open like that. It's a natural thing. And stories like this are teaching that to kids. But these racist leftists seem so obsessed with race that they demand everyone has different racial and cultural friends, but at the same time do not mix the cultures. Because if everyone's the same race and the same culture, you end up with what? You just get another ethnostate. You just get another ethnoculturalism, because you just have this one thing. And then you have no diversity anymore.
We have very small options.
So how's this supposed to work? And I don't. The leftist perspective, the leftist utopia, makes no sense. It can't exist. It can't remain, rather.
All right, we have a minute left. Fantastic.
That would make it superior to being a hybrid. In fact, nature favors diversity. The road to progress is spelled out in synthesis, not in opposition. Fascism only looks imposing when you try to engage it on its own terms.
You're getting nature wrong.
The road to I don't think he knows how nature works. It's called survival of the fittest. Things get eliminated.
No. This is, by the way, this is a bad. It was always a bad moniker to call it survival of the fittest. What it really is survival of the most adaptable.
Sure.
That is not necessarily the fittest.
There are so many species going extinct every freaking day that we don't even know of.
Yeah, and new ones come into being. Yeah.
Wisp, hold on. But you're also fittest doesn't mean like you're physically fit. Fittest means it's the one that has the best fit, which is why it was
that
used
fits the best in.
Yes, which is why
I rather say adaptability, because in German we have the wrong version of this, which means survival of the strongest, which is also wrong. It means survival of those who are the best adapted to their environment and situation, which means that you have some hazard coming over a population of, let's say, deer, and the ones who survive are the ones who could best deal with whatever the horror was, or just be random chance. But usually it's there's a pathogen coming of some kind, and it wrecks most of them, which can be some of the strongest animals in the herd, and the ones surviving, they may not have been the strongest, but they had the one trait that makes them survive the pathogen. So, and then that creates offspring that has that trait. That's how you get a new, if it goes on for long enough, a new subspecies. What can also happen is that you have this big herd, and suddenly, earthquake, and the herd is and big chasm, and then the herd is split into two, and those two herds will develop differently now, because they can't interchange their genes anymore, and you may create two new subspecies that way. This is how the diversity in nature comes into being in the first place. And if you just breed everything together, you just get one homogeneous blob. And that's what communism seems to be aiming for. That everybody is the exact same. And then what diversity do you have then? Okay. That's when you get a population where all of humanity is wiped out by one pathogen. Great, thank you.
Okay, here is a bunch of other wonderful sounding sentences he created and said aloud, unironically.
Shit false scientific ideas and give in to comfortably sounding half-truths. If you don't let it even speak its nonsense, it will crawl under a rock and quietly whimper about women destroying video games, or soy milk, or transgender bathrooms, or any...
Oh no, it's Ben Shapiro!
Oh god.
Look, it's an actual Jewish person.
Okay.
Oh god. Are we should we really unpack this?
No! Shut up!
Let's just ignore it because
it's bullshit propaganda. This is just social justice bullshit
propaganda. How did we get here?
Lies about every topic this guy brought up.
He talked about nature, got that statement wrong. Now he's talking about Israel and Palestine for some reason.
He's talking about Gamergate. He's talking about
women destroying video games.
Nobody needs transgender bathrooms. Nobody needs that. I'm telling you. If I can't tell you, then who the fuck should? Nobody needs that.
Right.
I don't need a special disabled toilet.
Yeah, use your wee.
Free of the population of which not even everyone transitions. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
30 seconds. Let's keep going.
Number of
please,
things
Patreon.
Just to get that tiny bit of a toehold back. And the moment it does, it will suggest a genocide. It will be laughed at and will crawl back again. And that's how, perhaps not
what's the last
intentionally,
thing? I keep getting buffer
Trigger
rings.
produced a piece of anti-Israeli propaganda that can be viewed on Netflix. With dubbing. What a time to be alive, eh?
Dubbing is
that's
bad.
all I have to say about that.
Wow, what a retard.
Thanks for watching.
Holy crap, he thinks this is anti-Israel propaganda.
Also, a team subs.
With a definition or whatever analysis like that. Are you kidding me?
What?
The only good dub is the original is Cowboy Bebop, Ghost Stories, and both Full Metal Alchemists.
Wait, is it good? Please clarify. Is it now good that it's anti-Israel propaganda or bad that it's anti-Israel
propaganda? To him, it's
propaganda?
Good. Because
For
Israel
him, it's good
bad.
He's obviously on the side. He's obviously on Palestine's side.
For some reason, we don't know.
Okay, so he's an anti-Semitic communist.
We don't know. He didn't say why. He just doesn't like Israel because it may be fascist and it may kill itself. I don't see the problem.
It may conduct genocide on Palestinians. That's what he said.
Very important update on the surface dogs. They got them out.
Oh,
okay, finally. Fucking finally.
Hey, at least that's some good news, and that made us feel better after dealing with that stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, that is some good news.
Let's go to Streamlab.
Streams, please.
Alrighty.
Madness.
Stream memes. Let's see. This is from George Kells.
The first one there. Oh, good lord.
Former Gainax employees. Okay, I got you there. Don't get any strange ideas. Studio Trigger. Of course you can do this. We can do this. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Darling in the Franxx is a weird one.
That is when I stopped watching, actually. The first episode.
Just watch Vandred. And Vandred second stage.
Medical
You already
warning.
get this joke.
Be sure to consult your optometrist for correct prescription if for prolonged use. All right. Normal conflict in storytelling. What the hell is that? Normal conflict in storytelling with special lenses? What the fuck is that?
Okay.
What is happening?
That's
hardly anything.
That's Red's
literally-
head.
Wow.
From overly sarcastic.
It's literally just the old. I have special eyes.
It's lenses. It's the queer lenses.
That is
My brand.
wow. What is I don't know.
It's lens coded.
Are anime not or what? No, they're not. They're not fascists. What's going on here?
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Elaborate.
You put on the lenses. You become an anime character, and everything you see is the Western world rainbow fascist? I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the
it's
guy's
okay.
avatar being
Man.
Using the queer lens.
okay.
to look
What
at
it
the
looks
world.
like is that for people like Red, it is like she has the correct queer position, queer leftist position, but the other she's pointing at is always a fascist. But the other has the same position as her. The left is infighting all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with that.
You don't know that old Spider-Man joke?
Ethnic-based communities are default fascist. Say psych right now. Okay.
What? Where
Yeah.
are you?
One right below it. It's because
When-
Indian reservations here in the States, especially.
Oh, that's
So this is what he said at the last lines of his video. When you acknowledge its bullshit, faux scientific ideas, and give into comfortably sounding half-truths. Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah, it's
was-
because the
Still makes no fucking sense.
the Native American reservations is technically they are ethno-nationalists by this guy's standards,
Yeah.
and therefore
Yes,
fascist.
they are.
Ho ho! All right, that was pretty fast stream memes. Thanks, guys.
Aw.
There wasn't a whole lot to make a
Well,
meme out of because it's just the same.
it is
He said a lot of nothing.
well.
It's the same dead horse you've been beating, for a while now.
I don't know.
Okay, I was
They all
gonna come
turn
out
into it.
wrong.
We know this guy is not an anime fan, as you said. He doesn't watch too much anime. He's not into it. It's like fine, okay. But for some reason, he watched this obscure anime on Netflix and goes, "Hey, this reminds me of Israel." And you're like, wait a second.
I don't think it's that obscure, but the point still stands.
Yeah, Netflix had a pretty hard push for this one.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, because Beastars did so well, they pushed really hard for BNA.
Okay.
It's mainly for the furries.
Oh, that's a different reason altogether. Okay.
I mean, but here's the thing: both BNA and Beastars are both well written. So
Yeah,
And-
true.
And he saw it as a metaphor for anti-Israel propaganda. That's amazing. What a guy.
no, you know what?
It's
probably it's
Probably the same way that the Al Qaeda saw A New Hope as an inspiration to fight against the evil American Empire. They watched Star Wars: A New Hope to moral boost themselves.
They want they
So
want
George
Star
Lucas
Wars.
did 9/11.
They watched New Hope
Oh,
drunk.
no.
It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they watched it
Because these are so generic stories at their basis that you can interpret whatever onto it. Just that people like this guy think that his interpretation is the actual message.
When anyone with a brain can tell him that's clearly fucking not.
Yeah, it
It's
seems.
just, look, here's a general story with a general problem, and we're exploring that. If you see parallels in your life about that, that's your thing.
Yeah,
and that should tell you have to figure out what that tells you and what you make of it and what you do about it and whether you do something about it.
Yeah, it seemed like a very well animated show. I don't think any of that political mumbo jumbo's in there, but you know, if you guys have a Netflix account,
there's politics, but it's politics that makes sense within that world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's one thing when it comes to doing politics in their media. Japan is very good at doing that. They don't mix in real world politics unless it's directly supposed to be about that thing. Generally, when they do politics, it's politics that are involved within the world that they set. They don't just randomly shove in nonsensical politicking right out of left field. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Anyway, guys,
like they isolate that.
I think that was enough for one night about religion, political mumbo jumbo. Probably enough for the month, if not the year. But, you know, we're going to keep hearing about stuff in Palestine and God knows what else in the Middle East these days. So, anyway, thank you for tuning in. That was not too painful. Just leave us flabbergasted for a few moments.
It was still damn stupid.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, always nice to get back on track with the stupid. But thanks for the suggestion, folks. Keep them coming. It's a whole new month coming up. So, you know, all those old ones from last month that you never got for us to cover, well, you might get them in this time. Who knows? Up to the odds. We don't know. So keep the suggestions coming. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
God help us all.